checking something, so she'll confirm with us in one moment.
Right. Well, we've got a large sign saying live on custom live streaming services, so we'll see.
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that we are streaming, and the time is now 6:30, so you're able to proceed.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Right. Well, good evening, all, and welcome to this this council meeting on Thursday, the 17th of December. And can I please ask the Reverend Kevin Ashby to lead us in prayers?
And just before I do that, could I, on behalf of all of the ministers in the Melton Borough, wish you all a very happy Christmas, and I hope all of you get something of a break over this this period, this very strange period. So let us pray. Lord God, we give you thanks at this Christmas time for the freedom and safety in which we live, for peaceful homes, for justice and order in our society, for standards of truth and honour, and for all our rights and privileges. We pray for those whose work it is to maintain and extend these blessings, especially during this pandemic and in this borough. All have been given authority in this past year and in the coming year, and responsibility among us in the work of the council, in administering the law and maintaining the peace, in education and the care of children, in planning and building, in providing both for work and for leisure. Direct and use their influence in this coming year, that together we may build a community and neighbourhood whose life does honour to your name. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Kevin, thank you very much. And from all of us, I hope you and your team have a very, very happy Christmas. And enjoy your day off on the 27th of December.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. All right. This meeting is to be run as a remote conference on Zoom. Any member participating by remote link who declares an interest in any item of business in terms which requires them to leave the room must ensure that they cannot be seen or heard during the agenda item. This shall be confirmed by Democratic Services. This member of staff will thereafter confirm to the remote member when they may rejoin the meeting. Should any aspect of the conference link fail during this meeting, I will call a short adjournment of up to 5 minutes to determine whether the link can quickly be re-established. If the link cannot be re-established, the meeting shall be adjourned to a later date. In the event of link failure for individual members, remote members will be deemed to have left the meeting at the point of failure of the equipment. And if the link cannot be re-established before the end of the meeting, then the presumption will be that the meeting should continue to deal with the item, providing the meeting remains quorate. Should the meeting no longer be quorate, the meeting should be adjourned and any remaining items of business will be deferred. If the individual member's link is successfully re-established, then the remote member will be deemed to have returned at the point of re-establishment. I would ask members to indicate their wish to speak by raising their hand using a raise hand function on Zoom. With support from Democratic Services, I will then invite each member in turn to make their contribution to the debate. All microphones will remain on mute at all times except mine and those of relevant officers. Members may unmute themselves when invited to speak, and all microphones will be unmuted before proceeding to a vote. Before proceeding to a vote, I will ensure that all members and officers have no further comments by confirming with Democratic Services that no hands are raised. If any member wishes to raise a point of order, the member should unmute themselves and clearly state their name, followed by the point of order. Councillor X, point of order, Mr. Mayor. I will then ask the member to specify the point of order that they wish to raise. Any member who's been absent from a debate due to connection failure must abstain from the vote. Please turn mobile phones to silent and note that the meeting will be recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Thank you. Now we move on to the thing. Apologies for absence. Have we had any apologies? Is Councillor Lumley with us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lumley is here, but Councillor Pritchett is absent currently.
Thank you. Minutes. Approval of the minutes of the following meetings. If I could take them both, the one for the 23rd of September 2020 and the one the 25th November 2020. Can I have those moved and seconded?
Yeah, very happy to move both sets of minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Can I
second, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much. Are all in favour? Any against? I look to Democratic Service. Is that carried? I can't see everyone, but hopefully they're all declarations of interest. The Mayor to invite members who wish to do so to make declarations of interest in respect of items on the agenda. A personal interest in respect of the county councillors, Orson, Pearson and Posnett is taken as being on record for any matters. Members may indicate they have any other interest to declare by using the raise hand function. Have we got any declarations of interest?
We have Councillor Posnett, Councillor Wilkinson, Holmes and Bindloss all indicating.
Right, can we have Councillor Posnett first?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to, you've already done my county council one, so I'd like to raise a personal and prejudicial interest in agenda item 13. I chair the board of Melton Learning Hub, of which the venue based at Phoenix House is part of, and so therefore I do have an interest in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't unmuted. Yes, Mr. Mayor, only if anything comes up about bypasses that might be in the north, that's all. I haven't got any other interest. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And there was one other, and I can't remember.
Mr. Mayor.
A bit lost, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to declare a disclosable pecuniary interest on item 13. I work for the Melton Learning Hub, as does my wife. So I will leave the meeting at that point.
Mr. Mayor, we also have Councillor Wilkinson.
Right, Councillor Wilkinson.
I'd like to declare a disclosable pecuniary interest in item 8 because my partner is a midwife at St Mary's Birth Centre. I'll not take part in this item and will leave the meeting.
Thank you very much. Any others? Mayor's announcements. Mayor's announcements at this time of year are traditionally numerous, while we inform you of all the things that we've done and mince pies we have consumed. This year, you will be relieved to hear is different. All traditional Christmas festivities postponed until next Christmas. And apart from laying a brick at the new McCarthy and Stone venture at Scolford Road, the mayoral role has been quiet. I have, though, read a lesson for the carol concert to be broadcast on Radio 103 VI at 11 o'clock on Christmas Eve and again 7 o'clock on Christmas morning. And this will be made up from a compilation of many mayor's carol services over the years that they have been broadcasting. I am not sending councillors Christmas cards this year, but instead I have a small gift for each of you. And this is available as per the email you received yesterday from your pigeonhole in the post room, or if you contact Democracy, it can be sent to you. Rebecca, we all send you our very best wishes and look forward to hearing your news in the new year. Has been a very difficult year for many. And I am proud how Melton Borough Council has once again risen to an unforeseen challenge. There will be many foreseen, unforeseen challenges in 2021. But before then, I wish you all a very happy but careful Christmas and a new year which will see us emerge into a safer world, but one where we have learned a lesson of humility, appreciate what we have, look after each other, and take little for granted. Thank you. Leader. Have you got some announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and may I wish the Mayoress and yourself a Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year. Leaders' notifications. Well, we have to say, what a year 2020 has been. This time last year, we thought Brexit was the only show in town. Little did we know what was in store. We have been responding to an international pandemic for the last 9 months, and I remain incredibly proud of what this council, both members and officers, working with our partners and communities, has achieved. We have provided humanitarian support to some of the most vulnerable people in our communities, delivering over 3,000 food parcels. We have provided over £11 million to keep businesses afloat. We have saved lives and protected livelihoods. It is hard to imagine a time when councils have undertaken more important work, and want to once again place on record my thanks to all members and officers for the work they have done during this most challenging time. I would also like to specifically acknowledge the contribution made by our environmental health team over the last few months. Often going under the radar, they have played a lead role in supporting the town centre reopening, guiding and supporting our businesses, whilst also ensuring compliance with COVID rules where necessary. Along this, they continue to maintain their normal obligations, and I was delighted to see the Food Standard Agency recently reported that they achieved 99.3% of the interventions due in 2019-20, placing them in the heady position of 16th out of 353 nationally. For a small team, like many this year, they have gone above and continue to do Melton proud. Despite all we have done, Mr. Mayor, it is clearly has not been an easy time. And I'm sure we have all felt the burden this period has placed upon us, both personally and professionally. Despite the wonders of modern technology and the great convenience of Zoom meetings, we missed the opportunity to meet face-to-face and recognise that normally after our December meetings, members and officers would share some food, drink and social time together, reinforcing the strength of our council community and our shared partnership. This year, we cannot do that, but we celebrate the emergence of the vaccine and look forward to the coming months when we know that this will be possible again. Our work with the LGA provides a very timely opportunity for us all to review and reflect on what is working well and what still needs to be done, and to consider how we ensure we make the most of talent and insights of all members and officers across the council. I look forward to working with all colleagues on that during the early part of next year. Alongside this, we are working hard on delivering our commitment to service excellence with our new corporate strategy and improving how we respond. We welcome feedback when things go wrong, as it helps us to improve what we do. Members and officers have started discussing a new approach, and I look forward to this also being agreed and finalised in the new year. Whatever challenges we still face, we should be confident about the future, given that we have faced and overcome many challenges before, and that we can do so again. It is sometimes easy to forget the progress which has been made, and it is worth reminding ourselves where we are now. Through the focus and commitments we made last year, our housing services are improving significantly. There is much more work to be done, but we know we are moving in the right direction. Our local plan is delivering, and we have seen more homes built in Melton than in any time in the last 20 years. We have held constructive discussions with the CCG on our aspiration to secure a second GP surgery in Melton, and working with our MP recently were only one of 15 projects nationally to secure more funding to develop a business case in support of rail improvements between Melton Mowbray and Nottingham. We have appointed a new tourism officer, and in the new year, we will establish a food enterprise centre in Melton. And through our asset development programme, we will work to develop proposals which release resources to help fund our priorities, improve communities, infrastructure, and deliver new homes. On the MMDR, we have continued to invest significant resources into supporting the County Council's aspiration to accept in the Housing Infrastructure Fund and forward fund the southern section of the road. Considerable progress has been made, and last night the Cabinet approved the principles established in the new development layout and delivery strategy, which will improve viability and provide greater confidence to the County Council that the costs they incur through forward funding can be recovered through Section 106 agreements. As a local planning authority, we will do all we can to secure the contributions the County Council needs. What we cannot do is provide an unrealistic guarantee that would transfer a multi-million-pound financial risk to ourselves. The County Council have made accepting the HIF award conditional on reaching a risk share agreement with ourselves. We are happy to go over and above our statutory responsibilities and enter such an agreement, but any financial exposure has to be capped at £1 million. And this is something the Cabinet resolutely endorsed again yesterday. Any contribution we make has the potential to reroute resources for our own statutory services. And whilst we want to demonstrate our commitment to delivering the road, we cannot jeopardise other services our communities rely on, nor put ourselves in a financially unviable position. Given our annual revenue budget is 100 times smaller than the County Council, we simply cannot go further and hope that we have reiterated a consistent position a number of times and now formalised that through Cabinet resolution. The County Council will proceed on this basis and finalise a proportionate and affordable risk share agreement such that they can then submit the HIF grant agreement. We remain committed to continuing to work with them and the other key stakeholders to find a way for this crucial piece of infrastructure to be delivered, but the County Council will have to accept the final financial limitations on what we can provide. Mr. Mayor, despite all that has been thrown at us this year and incurring over £1.5 million of additional costs and lost income due to COVID, we have managed our finances well and are still projecting an underspend against our annual revenue budget. We know next year finances are going to be challenged and we may have to take some difficult decisions, but I am confident that as a council we are making good preparations and will manage the situations well. With the finance settlement announcement of earlier today, I look forward to the budget briefing with all members on Monday, and we step up the budget preparations with greater certainty of challenge we face. Just as a footnote to that, Mr. Mayor, the finance team are working on this and there should be a briefing out tomorrow before Monday night, so you are more prepared for the Monday. The briefing note should be out tomorrow quite easily, I think, because I think they're working on that just now. Mr. Mayor, in conclusion, can I once again thank all members and officers for the hard work they have done over recent months. It has not been easy, but we have achieved a lot, and I am confident that whatever challenges we still face next year, we can meet them by working together. All that remains for me to do is to wish all members and officers of the council and communities we serve a very happy and healthy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Leader, thank you very much for that. We now come to public question time. We've received notice of 2 questions from members of the public in accordance with procedure rules on public questions as set out on the agenda. Firstly, I will invite Ms. Kelly Davis to read her question. Please bring Ms. Davis through into the meeting as participant so she may read her question.
I'm just bringing Ms. Davis through now. Okay, if we can just
Okay.
ask Ms Davis to put her video on and unmute herself.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening,
Hi.
Council.
Yep. Very faint. Can we turn up the volume a bit? Like that. Right? I'm
Sorry,
on mute still. Don't worry. We're all finding it very strange. Don't worry at all.
You're probably the first person in 26 years that told us to turn the volume up. Normally,
Can we get some volume?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I think the problem is probably with Ms Davis's IT equipment. So she needs to turn her volume up on her audio output. I don't know if she's able to do that. But it can't be controlled from here, from my end here.
I was about to say Miss Davis is on a
that's better.
phone
There we go.
at the moment.
That was a lot better. Thank you very much. That was a lot better. And I invite you to read your question. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Okie dokie. So my question is, on page 10 of the council's new corporate strategy, there is a mention of increasing vitality, vibrancy, footfall and spend within the town centre. How does the council plan to do this when our public transport has been acknowledged by the BBC as being subpar, and many of my followers have claimed the town's car centre car parking charges to be a killer of footfall within the town centre?
Thank you very much. And I call on the portfolio holder and Deputy for Growth and Prosperity and the Deputy Leader to respond to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And well, thank you for the question, Kelly. And I'd just like to also just take this time to pay tribute to you for sending me information throughout the whole COVID thing of how the council can help, especially young people, and also trying to get a little bit of that vitality back into the town centre. And I'd also just like to take the time now, as I know you've also joined some of our seminars or Zoom calls, especially when we've been trying to work with the hospitality sector. As you will note, this is going to be a bit of a long response to you, Kelly, but it's quite a detailed response, which I think you and the public deserve to hear. So as you will note, as part of the new corporate strategy, the council has made a commitment to delivering sustainable and inclusive growth in Melton and surround. And we understand the vibrancy of the town centre is reliant on a range of factors such as quality and diversity of the offer and promotion of those businesses. Now that, for example, means, what type of shops that we have, what do they sell, what type of experiences do we have in terms of coffee shops or restaurants, or all the other factors of trying to get something that's slightly different, including their opening hours and occupancy levels, affordability and spend capacity of the community, and accessibility of the place itself. It is important that people have access to employment and as well as access to affordable housing to improve the disposable incomes of our communities. And this council wants to reassure you and your followers that young people very much is at its heart of its agenda in terms of getting them new houses and finding the new jobs for the next decade to come. It's been quite an extraordinary year for the town centre and retail and leisure in particular. And I think that's been said not only by the bid in the Melton Times this week, with significant falls in footfall due to lockdowns and obviously through other impacts through COVID. Throughout the year, the council has been working with the BID, which is the Business Improvement District, and the Melton Mowbray Town Estate to maintain the vitality, the vibrancy and footfall, but importantly, what is spent in the town centre. And we have done that by ensuring public health messages and infrastructure implemented ready for the retail reopening back in June, including extensive signage, hand sanitizers, and supported by visible COVID ambassadors, which we've tried to use the COVID ambassadors as a friendly term, not to tell people necessarily what to do, but where to get help from and to make sure that our town is an open and a friendly place. Our regulatory services team has worked with our partners to support businesses to ensure their shops, cafes, restaurants could open in a COVID-safe way. Other support measures that have been undertaken during the pandemic have seen us firstly relax enforcement and allow the hospitality sector to erect temporary structures such as marquees and ensure those businesses are able to utilise outdoor open space more effectively. And this has helped to create more capacity to achieve social distancing guidelines whilst on the premises. Now, I know we're in a tier 3 at the moment, but this council has certainly extended that, and it will continue to extend that offering while we hopefully come out of the tier 3 and have restrictions where hospitality can reopen. We've also supported town centre businesses in trialling cafe culture in the marketplace and supporting pavement licences for outdoor seating. We also have developed a shared seating space on the market square for businesses to utilise during the day and in the evenings. And if this is something that people want to see more of, then this council certainly will work with the bidder and those businesses to make sure that becomes a more permanent feature. I just want to also add on this particular point, the councillors that are on this forum now and on the Zoom call certainly have made representations to me, our MP, and I know our MP has also made those representations, myself with calls with the government in terms of reducing business rates and increasing rate relief and also grants to those businesses. To support footfall during the Christmas, the council has offered free parking days to the town centre on every Friday in December to attract shoppers. And we will also look to improve any Christmas lighting schemes that we have done this year. And we've installed a Christmas tree and to create that festive environment for all visitors to enjoy. And a lot of people have come back to say how lovely that has been. Clearly, despite all the efforts involved, not least the businesses themselves, it's going to be a challenging time for them. But this council has provided over £11 million of direct support to over 1,000 businesses in Melton over the last 8 months. Our business grant support schemes are still open, and I implore all those businesses who need our assistance to come forward. Just on that as well, Kelly, is our own business teams are going out to all the pubs and hospitality sectors who can apply for £1,000 wet-led pub grant that has just been announced, and our office is going to go to them directly. Looking at the future, we have an extensive plan for our town centre's growth and a commitment to help to build over 4,000 homes over the next 15 years that will ensure new families, residents who move to Melton or need to leave where they grew up from their family home into their home of their own to increase footfall and patronage of our town centre. Our cabinet and also this week confirmed the establishment of a new food enterprise centre in Melton, and we look forward to launching that in 2021. The council is investing in strengthening the economy and supporting key economic sectors such as food production, retaining jobs, and the grants money to retain spend capacity, increasing housing growth, and to support affordability to the community. Just on the point you made about car parking, Kelly, that is always a very sensitive topic, and this council is not immune to those comments that are made. The council owns 9 car parks in the town centre, providing over 1,000 car park spaces. This includes 7 free spaces and up to 37 free disabled bays. There are approximately 13 other car parks in the town centre in private ownership, providing access to over 1,100 parking spaces. Over 70% of those are free for a duration of time, and in addition, approximately 80 on-street car parking spaces are available in the area. So what I want to say to you, if car parking prices are an issue for any particular person, there are other alternatives that are available. In regards to car parks in the council's ownership, the council has had to tread a fine line between supporting the town centre and ensuring it's bringing enough income to cover the cost of operating and maintaining our car parks and the new charging schedule, which was in place in April of this year. Before then, the prices had been frozen for 4 years, and during the April and July, the council has removed any enforcement car parking activity to support the town and our key workers. We also want to continue to work with our county council partners regarding transport and highway infrastructure, which is their responsibility. But it's demonstrated above, the council is taking a range of actions and is committed to do everything in its power to increase footfall and vibrancy in the town centre. But importantly, it's to get that spend into our shops. And just a personal point to yourself, Kelly, if there is anything that I can do to help from the portfolio, or just listening to some of the points you make to me quite regularly, my door is always open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Davis, do you have a supplementary question in relation to your first question?
I have multiple, Mr. Mayor, but I will try and go through them all relatively
You're
quick.
allowed one, but you can make it as
Oh, am I only
complicated.
allowed one, am I?
Well, no, but you're allowed to speak one, so put in as many as you want. I
Yeah.
think in that one statement.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
one
Mayor.
at a time, okie dokie. So I would like to firstly thank Councillor Higgins for his statement. I look forward to his email in the not too distant future, reference his availability to have that meeting. I know in your statement you referred to multiple places where there were free parking across various durations of time. Could you possibly let me know, not only for myself, but for my followers who might be watching the video, or the members of the public that are watching this video, whereabouts these particular places are located and the relevant duration of these times? Because I know I've had incidences, and I've said it to you before, where, you know, there'll be a conversation on Facebook and you'll say, oh, there's this many free parking spaces, and I'll be there. Well, this is the first I've seen of it. So could you possibly just give a brief outline of where these free spaces are and the duration of those free car parking spaces?
Okay.
Was there another question you wanted to ask at the same time, because you only have one go?
Yeah.
So put in the other question while you're at it.
So that was the first question, and the second question is, I know you said in the statement as well that you're liaisoning with the county council, reference the highway structure and that public transport element there. Could you possibly outline what those liaisons are currently looking at, like as far as conversation, dialogue are concerned as well?
That's great. Thank you very much for those two. I'll get Councillor Higgins to reply.
Okay. Yeah, in free parking locations, I'm trying to go off top of my memory here, Kelly, so that I will add and others at the end. But there are, for example, some of the offerings with free parking, which I have used myself. You go to Pets at Home, and I think that's 90 minutes. I went there this week, and I have to say I had a KFC as well at the same time, as well as going into the town centre to have the Christmas haircut. And I know our barbers and hairdressers are working really hard. Just off the top of my head, there are free parking spaces on Burton Street, Sherard Street, Thorpe End, Park Lane, Jubilee Street. There are others. I'm trying to think of where they are. There is Thorpe End, King Street as well. There are some free car parking spaces on King Street. St Mary's car park, which is the free car park spaces for 20 minutes the council offers as well. But I can certainly give you a full update of which streets and roads that they're on. And I know the deputy mayor has gone round to checking how many, and he's literally counted how many spaces there are as well. So he's informed me that though my official answer says 80, he believes there's over 100. But I'll be happy to do that. But a lot of those, especially around Sherard Street, outside McDonald's, Thorpe Road, which is near Wying and Tuxford and Tebbit, a lot of those are very popular for people to go in and grab something from shopping as well. There are obviously, clearly, there are other car parks where the host private centre car parks, I know Morrison's and QD and Lidl, they offer car park spaces where you can obviously utilise their businesses as well. If that one's okay, I'll move on to the next. Well, it's the same question. It's just with a comma in. I think it was, Kelly. So in regards to highway structures and I think public transport you're raising, the ultimate part, and I know Councillor Posnett, Pearson, and also Councillor Orson are county councillors, and I know Councillor Pam Posnett and Alan Pearson certainly have made a lot of representations to the county council in regards to bus services and to trying to keep those going. It is very much ultimately that people need to use those public transport services because a lot of the buses, especially in my own ward, is what we do see is we see a lot of buses going around empty, and that's not very good for the environment itself. But what I would say, and a real important point for everyone to note is when public transport is taken away or reduced, it is very much young people who are more disproportionately affected. And I know Councillors Posnett and Pearson very much always reiterate that. And to be fair, there are other councillors on this call here. I know Councillor Chandler says that quite a lot as well, but other councillors do recognise that when bus services are impacted, it does impact the younger people more so than everybody else.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And thank you, Ms Davies, very much for asking the question. It's not very often we get ones like this, and we do like it as councillors. It's very, very encouraging to see people taking an interest and inquiring why. I feel frightened because I actually nearly always park in Chapel Street when I come in, which was one of the free parking bits that was missed off. But thank you very much for asking the thing. And you will now be moved back to the attendees, I am told.
Yes, Ms Davis is now back in as an attendee. I will draw your attention, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Carter has his hand raised. I know that there is no debate on these questions, but I didn't know if you just wanted to go to him.
Councillor Carter, on the understanding there is no debate or remarks on these questions, is there anything you wanted to say?
That's fine, Mr Mayor. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay then, thank you.
The second question, that's right. Yeah. The second question was received by Gareth Batchelor, who is not able to attend the meeting in person, and therefore I will read the question on behalf of Mr Batchelor. He also asked a supplementary, and I will ask them as one. So if they could be answered as one. Can you provide details regarding the background to the decision to relocate the Christmas tree pit in the town centre, including the identification of issues with the previous site and the procurement process undertaken? How long the new site is expected to last, and what, if any, guarantees are in place if any remedial work has to be carried out to prevent a large expenditure again? Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Gareth, as well, for the question. This has obviously been very much in the news very recently. The planned works for the Christmas tree pit predated the coronavirus pandemic and has been planned since mid-2019. The existing tree pit was no longer fit for purpose, and structural tests had identified that it was no longer capable of safely securing the town centre Christmas tree. And for those who are watching, I think there used to be a running joke on the Neighbourhood Watch Facebook page of how sometimes in a wind it would be lopsided. And then people would always say, oh, the council can't even put the tree straight. So, but obviously with health and safety legislation and everything else that's coming around that, the council still has to take that very seriously. It would not want where, you know, a tree to fall on anybody, any patrons into the town centre, and any claim from that would be even more costly. It was also identified that due to the groundworks which was required for a new pit, the existing location was not appropriate, mainly because it was right next to a drainage system. Therefore, we would have had to require a diversion of a drain pipe, which pushed the costs to a prohibitive amount. The other solution explored was to continue to use a temporary solution to secure the tree above the ground as we did in 2019. But this solution consisted of securing the tree via a metal collar to 4 one-ton concrete blocks. This too is an extremely expensive solution due to the fact that the cost would have to be incurred every year until a permanent solution was put in place. Considering the above and recognising the importance of maintaining a high quality town centre Christmas tree, it was decided that the safest and most value for money option would be to relocate the tree pit, and to achieve the best value, the contract was procured via a nationally recognised procurement framework, and Jeekins Weir was the preferred bidder. The funding was allocated in the council's capital programme in February 2020, which councillors approved, and the final cost came through in slightly under budget. The work required included survey work undertaken on the site to identify the best location for the pit, so it was not to disturb any underground infrastructure. The design work to ensure that the pit would be structurally sound, licence fees to actually undertake the work, and hiring of heavy machinery for groundworks. And the other site-related costs included compound facilities and secure fencing. Towards the supplementary part of the answer, it is difficult to identify exactly how long this pit will last however, it is very much a long-term solution. The structure of the tree pit is something that, unless some very high winds that come about, but under normal circumstances, it could last for a whole generation, possibly longer. The pit will now form a routine maintenance regime and ensure it lasts as long as possible, and any issues that are picked up are quickly dealt with at a low cost moving forward. Ultimately, if we want to properly support our Christmas festivities in Melton, and then we have to invest in the infrastructure to support them, and there will be no compromise in public safety in doing so. Last year, it cost the council some significant money for temporary supports, and having to meet that cost year after year does not represent good value for money. The investment made this year will ensure Melton's high quality Christmas festivities can continue for many years to come, and you only have to look at the social media to see how the Christmas lights, tree have been valued this year, particularly this year. And if I just may touch on the point, there is a competition for residents to enter of their Christmas lights from their houses, and of which councillors have donated hampers, prizes, loads of other local businesses donated prizes, Mr. Mayor, and I encourage them to contact communications@melton.gov.uk with their pictures, or to upload it on the council's Facebook page. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins, for that. Questions from members? There were no questions received. Motions on notice. For this item, I will seek a mover and a seconder, and after any debate, we'll proceed to a roll call vote administered by the Chief Executive. Councillor Fisher, would you like to move?
Mr. Mayor, apologies. Yes. Before Councillor Fisher moves on, if you would just give me a moment to move Councillor Wilkinson out into attendees, as he has declared an interest in this item. If you just give me just one moment and I'll confirm when that's been done.
Let us know when it's safe to proceed. Thank you. In the meantime, actually, while we're waiting, I did say that I had a small gift I was giving to councillors and members of staff this year. We have got a few of them over, and if any councillor knows of someone who feels that they have done enormous amount to help Melton Borough Council over the last year, if you let me have their name and address, we can see whether we can get them the small gift as well. So I would leave that up to you, but just give me their name and address and we can send them a small gift in recognition of them and thanks of how they've helped this council.
And Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that Councillor Wilkinson has been moved to an attendee, so he cannot be seen or heard by the participants in the meeting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher, will you move the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the following motion regarding the proposed closure of St Mary's Birth Centre. As I'm sure you're already aware, the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland Clinical Commissioning Group are proposing to close St Mary's Birth Centre and replace it with a midwife-led birth centre at the Leicester General Hospital for a trial period of 12 months. This current proposal needs to provide more details on how local community-based births, antenatal, postnatal and other related services will be affected. Recent studies support the use of smaller birthing centres where care is personalised to the patient as the way forward. Concerns have also been raised regarding the capacity at Leicester General Hospital and the ability to deal with the increased workload as a result of these proposals. Careful consideration needs to be given to access, travel time, public transport availability, parking and fuel expenses, and the environmental impact before a final decision is made. In order to recognise the concerns of the residents of the Melton Borough in relation to the proposed closure of the St Mary's Birth Centre, the Council requests that the National Health Service and LLR-CCG provides more information in relation to the impact of the proposed closure on access, travel time, public transport, parking, fuel expense and environmental impact, and that steps will be taken to mitigate and monitor these impacts should the proposals go ahead. Requests that the local National Health Service and LLR-CCG provide information in relation to the feasibility of the proposal that evidences and provides assurance regarding the way in which the new facilities in Leicester would serve the residents of Melton Mowbray better than the current established local service provided at St Mary's. We have heard nothing but praise from everyone that has used St Mary's Birth Centre. Losing a vital service like this would be a mistake in my opinion and extremely short-sighted of the CCG if they make this decision to close it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Smedley, would you like to second the motion?
Good evening. Yes, I'm pleased to second this motion for numerous reasons. St Mary's Birth Centre provides an incredible and invaluable service to residents across the borough. During the consultation period, I have met with and heard stories from so many families who have relied on St Mary's for support during pregnancy, childbirth and aftercare. The care offered is personalised, with patients knowing their midwives well, meaning that patient confidence and satisfaction is high, and our midwives can offer individual personal care as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Postnatal care at St Mary's is second to none, and the current offer of moving these services online is simply unacceptable for our residents, particularly where more practical support, such as with breastfeeding, is required. Online services or community-based support is simply not enough. It is my fear that these proposals will have a negative impact on all new families, but especially those who are vulnerable. I've actively taken part in the consultation, and it has been said that patients to the east and northeast of Leicestershire and Rutland would be the least likely to benefit from the proposals, and this simply isn't good enough for our residents. We need to know how these proposals will improve services available to our residents, and we need to know how our residents will be able to access vital services. We have recently declared a climate emergency, and these proposals, we have recently declared a climate emergency. Are these proposals going to negate all that we have set out to achieve? Once again, with the increased travel, it will be our most vulnerable who suffer from these proposals, particularly in relation to travel cost and loss of essential services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smedley. Right, I will now open the floor. So Democratic Services, is anyone?
Councillor Pearson.
Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd just like to support the motion. This has been put forward as well at the County Council and got 100% support. The comments of the environment, the transport, the congestion, the cost to Melton residents. I've been sort of delivering leaflets and walking around, meeting people, mainly in parks, doing it right. But the response from the public has been tremendous. And I'd just like to say to all those people involved in the campaign, congratulations, they've worked really hard. They've had the presence around town, and the support they've had has been wonderful, I've got to say. The main issue for me, a lot of it's already been mentioned, is big shiny buildings does not necessarily make good care. It's people that matter, and it's people that provide the care. Recently in Shrewsbury, we've seen the devastating impact of midwifery in a big hospital there. Nottingham, who's an enormous midwifery service, so many thousand births a year, has been actually the Care Commission, Clinical Care Quality Care Commission, has just inspected it, and it's basically said it's dangerous. And let us not remember, we've got to also put into perspective that the Leicestershire Royal Infirmary recently, the Care Quality Commission said safety was inadequate. So big isn't always better. So I'd just like to say that, you know, the final concern I've got is once we let one service go, we may lose others. So we must continue to keep an eye on this. I hope everybody supports this because once it's gone, it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pearson. And I know you were at the Zoom meeting, which I was listening in to earlier this week, which was very informative and I thought very interesting. Does anybody else wish to add their voice?
Yes, we have Councillor Holmes and Councillor Lumley.
Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, many moons ago, I was a mum, and both my daughters were delivered at Melton. And although it is a long time ago, I do think, and I totally agree with Councillor Pearson, that it is so vitally important that it's very, very small and personal to the mum, especially when in a big environment. It might be the same supposedly, because we had the meeting with the doctors and the nurses saying that, oh yes, it's a one-to-one. I'm sure it is to a certain extent, but sometimes babies take a long time to come. So I honestly think that it is such a retrograde step. One thing which I cannot believe, and I asked when we had the meeting about the hospital in Leicester, that we are not in conjunction with the biggest doctor's practice in the country. Surely there must be a doctor that has something to do with gynecology at Melton. It seems ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, because whatever people say, the south of Melton, if we're getting more and more houses, we don't actually know whether there's going to be a bypass now or in the long distance future. There are more houses, there are people, there will be more congestion. So there will be people who actually need to come very quickly sometimes to a very safe environment. And that is Melton Hospital. And I think that whatever we do, we have to fight for it. But also, I think that we should and we must look at Melton doctor's practice, because they could come in to help as well. I know it's for midwives, but I honestly cannot understand it. Didn't used to happen in my day. My day was Dr. Pat Aikman. I don't suppose other people remember her, but my goodness, she did an excellent job. And if she was needed, she was there. And that is that sometimes good and new isn't always the best. Sometimes, occasionally, going backwards is quite the best thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hobbs. Councillor Lumley.
Hi all. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, shall I say. I obviously fully support this motion. I'd like to say thank you to Glyn Cartwright of Melton Matters that has done a huge amount of work on this, advertising to try and save this unit, and also the other people that are also the public members that are fighting to save this. I was with Alan Pearson and Melise on a Zoom meeting Monday night, and there was a big discussion. Our MP was on that call, and she was saying that it's looking very hard to, it's looking very sort of like difficult to save this birthing centre, but she's trying her best, and I think she is. I think there are so many questions about this unit that aren't being answered by the CCG. I think they are incredibly short-sighted in their views on this. I don't think there's any sort of like long-term planning from them. I think one of the biggest factors that has got to be is that by 2036 we're going to be a much bigger town and a constituency as a whole, and there's going to be a big increase in demand. Between 2018 and 2019, the actual centre has seen a 20% increase in its usage, and I don't think it's been taken into consideration by the CCG. I think they seem to be ignoring us. I've got people saying to me that live in my ward, my constituents, that say that they have been told for the past few years that they either have to go to Nottingham or to Leicester, and to have a child, and they aren't even offered here in the town, which I think is terrible. And I just think there's a plan ultimately to axe it anyway. I just think we have to be mindful of the fact that this has to stay open. And I don't think we should be repeating the mistakes of the John Fernley School, which had to close. And I think Pam tried her best for over a year to try and save that school. It closed. And now what we see now in our local plan, we've got to have a whole new secondary school. It's ridiculous. There's such a waste of money. And I just think as well, another big thing which I don't think is being considered is we've got this, COVID pandemic. I don't think we really know how long it's going to go on for, even just despite the vaccine, it would be good to have these separate places around the country that are, separate from high COVID areas. And I think I think certainly this birth centre is an example. And I don't think that's being considered. It's all been centralised, and I don't think it's a way forward. I just think we've really got to fight for this. I've emailed our MP, which she asked me for, to send her further questions on this, and I have done, and she's going to give them to the CCG to answer. So hopefully we'll see something from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm very impressed by your backdrop, which you probably can't see, but it looks very good from here. Have we got anybody else who would like to speak?
Yes, we have Councillor Faulkner, Councillor Orson and Councillor Posnett.
Faulkner, Posnett. Councillor Faulkner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A very interesting bit on this I've noticed that I've not heard before, and that is on the bit where it said that for a 12-month trial period. I don't recall that being mentioned at the meeting that I was at. Has that been added recently? Because I can't see any way that they're going to shut it for 12 months and then if they say, oh dear, we've got it wrong, and reopen it. I don't believe that bit.
Can I answer that, Melise?
Please do.
You don't mind? Sorry, Mayor. Sorry, forgive me.
No. Yeah.
The 12 months is that the general. They want to move it to the general and move it to the general hospital for 12 months, potentially 12 months minimum, could be longer, and close the unit down here. So it would mean people would go to the general until the building starts. So it's a trial period, but we feel it'd be more than 12 months. So they're very keen to close St Mary's down as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Pearson, because I just can't see if it closes now, it's not going to reopen. It's a ridiculous idea that it's going to be 12 months and that'll be it, they'll come back. So yeah, I mean, we have to fight this as much as we can at this stage. So I obviously be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Faulkner. Councillor Orson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To be honest, I had absolutely no thoughts about speaking on this motion tonight. I even text Councillors Fisher and Smedley to say I wasn't going to speak on it, but I do feel that I've just got to say a couple of points, actually. One is Councillor Holmes did mention the bypass and put some doubt on it, actually, but the reality is, obviously the lead member for resources at the County Council has guaranteed me that the north and east is definitely going to happen. That's been confirmed in the Melton Times, if Melton Times can confirm these things. And the Melton Times did report today, and it is true, that they will be on the ground next year in a limited fashion with the major work following that. Another thing, just interested at Councillor Holmes, I do remember Andrew and Pat Aikman very well. I was an old boy. I was born at St Mary's, and my father always told me I was born in the workhouse, and maybe he had something there. And just finally, Mr. Mayor, to wrap it up really quickly, just to congratulate Councillors Fisher and Smedley for bringing this forward. It shows the new generation of councillors is growing in confidence and wanting to take a lead role in the community. So thank you very much.
Very much. Councillor Posnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Fisher, Councillor Lumley and Councillor Pearson on all the work they've done. I do support them, but I just wanted to correct Simon Lumley. It wasn't John Fernley School I fought to save. It was King Edward School that I fought to. So I don't want any conflict about anything like that. And I was right, and I think it's wonderful when you have been right about something. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Posnett. I noticed that. Anybody else wishing want to speak? No?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I've
Yep.
raised my hand, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has got to be fought. This is Grantham Hospital all over again, closing the A&E department. We lost the A&E because we were told it was only a trial period. It wouldn't happen. Then it would be reinstated. It was staff shortages. Just the same scenario as there is now in Melton. We're now down to what do they call it now? A treatment centre at Grantham. If you have more than a cut that needs 2 stitches in it, you have to go to Nottingham, Lincoln or Boston. That's no good. We've got to try and keep these things local with extra building. It's horrendous. But Grantham is in a poor old state now. It's lost its A&E on the A1, the main East Coast main line. If anything happened on there, where would they take everybody? But people fought, and they've still got placards up in Grantham. I've been in Grantham this afternoon, and there's still placards to save Grantham Hospital. They're doing just nothing but cancer operations there at the moment. It's COVID free. If it can do one thing as a premium rate, why can't it do A&E? No, we've got to certainly try and save this birthing unit, else it's going to be the same scenario. Once it's gone, it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I see Councillor Glancy. Councillor Glancy.
Hi, yes. Sorry for the delay. I was busy writing some notes, so thank you very much, Mayor. Yes, I think really big is not necessarily beautiful. Centralisation may work very well for the consultants and the doctors, etc., but it's not very good and very efficient for patients. I just worry about having everything that's centralised. You're going to make that 17-mile dash, bad traffic, etc. Time often is of the essence when you're trying to get to hospital. And this 12-month period is very misleading. And the costs of reopening St Mary's, should they decide that the trial hasn't been successful, will be astronomical. So who on earth is going to believe a word of that? I just think everything is very misleading. And also the figures that they've provided, where they've based their opinion on, seem to be somewhat out of date for the number of patients they've treated. Perhaps if they use more up-to-date ones, they could see how St Mary's has actually grown over the past 2 years, I believe. And yes, I've been very sort of active in this. I've been delivering leaflets as well to help the sort of the campaign as well. So yes, I really can't support closing St Mary's. I think what they need to do is invest in it, make it grow. They've got something there which they can develop. Let's develop it and not just cast it aside because they want to have something really nice and big in Leicester itself as a monument to whatever. I just think it just does not work. Big is not necessarily beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Higgins, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to reiterate what Councillor Posnett and Lumley were saying, you know, obviously King Edward, it was a very important part of the community. It was only closed in 2011, and now we're talking about a new secondary school and all the expense to reopening that. So it is important to get these decisions right, rather than making a decision and a few years later asking for more money. And as we know, the health authorities ask us for money when there are new homes. So we've got to make sure that before closing anything, that it is the right decision. As I say, instead of probably all the expenditure of a new school, maybe if King Edward remained open, we wouldn't be here in that. Just on the movers and on the motion, Councillors Fisher and Smedley, I'd just like to personally congratulate them for speaking so eloquently on it, Mr. Mayor. And I think it also, as the leader said, it shows a new generation coming through to take on the community issues and, you know, raising the bar and making sure that they're heard. And I think it's absolutely important what councillors do in the community, not just at Melton, but all around the country. And I think Councillors Fisher and Smedley have certainly demonstrated that by giving people a voice and making sure that there's an outlet that people can listen and hear what they're saying on the ground. Obviously, you know, the consultation is there, it's open, so people should certainly still fill it in. There are some good parts of the, you know, proposals, such as a new children's hospital for the East Midlands, which I think is fantastic. But as Councillors Fisher and Smedley said, there are things which have, you know, certainly need to be debated a little bit more, and more information I think would be vital for us all. So congratulations to Councillors Fisher and Smedley.
Thank you very much. We got Councillor Illingworth. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the business be put.
Right. Anybody else wish to speak. I think we should have a thing. I have a feeling we've come to an end anyway of the debates. I just wanted to say that my wife has had 4 daughters and they were all born in Oakham. I don't believe we'd have got to Leicester in time, certainly not in a traffic jam. And we are very concerned in this part of the world about the ambulance service on which this would be so reliant. And secondly, I do agree with Councillor Chandler. I went to an absolutely packed St Wolfram's Church, where everybody was in favour of keeping that maternity ward in Grantham, and no attention was paid to them whatsoever. And it is in a muddle. It is worth fighting for, and I think it's very necessary. So now, Councillor Fisher, you have a chance. Do you want to sum up, or are you happy for it to go to the vote?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy for it to go to the vote, please.
And Councillor Smedley as well.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Right. So now, yep. Thank you. May I have to confirm the members? Right. So the Chief Executive requests each member in turn confirm his or her vote and to confirm the numbers at the end.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, members, if you could confirm whether you are for, against or abstaining, please. Councillor Baines.
For the motion.
Councillor Bindloss.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Carter.
Abstain.
Councillor Chandler.
For.
Councillor Child.
For.
Councillor Cumbers.
For.
Councillor de Burl. Councillor de Burl. I'll come back to you, Councillor de Burl. Councillor Douglas.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Faulkner.
For.
Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Freer-Jones.
For.
Councillor Glancy.
For.
Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Hewson.
For.
Councillor Higgins.
For.
Councillor Holmes.
For.
Councillor Illingworth.
For.
Councillor Lumley.
For.
Councillor Alston.
For.
Councillor Pearson.
For.
Councillor Posnitz.
For.
Councillor Pritchett.
Abstain.
Councillor Smedley.
For.
Councillor Steadman.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson has withdrawn. Councillor Wood.
For.
And back to Councillor de Burl.
For. Did you get it that time?
Yes, thank you, Councillor de Burl.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute before. Apologies for that.
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that is 25 for with 2 abstentions.
Thank you very much. So that motion is definitely carried, 25 for with 2 abstentions. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 9, the infrastructure funding statement. Councillor Higgins will move and provide.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, before you. Hello, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes. Yeah. Yes. No.
I think, Mr. Mayor, Natasha is having issues with her connection. I think what she's trying to say is that can she just have a couple of minutes to bring Councillor Wilkinson back into the meeting?
Oh, right. No problem. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Wilkinson is back in the meeting.
In the back room. Great. Thank you very much. So now item 9, the infrastructure funding statement. For this item, I'll seek a mover and a seconder, and after any debate, I shall confirm that the report has been noted and move to the next item. Councillor Higgins will move.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose. And if you want me to talk now, I can do, or wait for
Yes, I would.
Yeah, no, thank you. So councillors, this is a new responsibility introduced by some relatively recent changes to legislation. And this is the first time this report has been presented to you at full council. It reports on the Section 106 receipts of the previous year from April 2019 to March 2020. The proceeds are contained within the statement itself, and ironically enough, 1920 was a relatively quiet year in these terms. However, we can expect a much more as the larger schemes start to make an appearance in these reports. However, if I can draw your attention to the affordable housing on page 24 of the paper, as you can see, a strong pipeline of affordable housing has been secured, which will be delivered as these developments proceed, which will enable us to make real inroads into this priority, which I know a lot of councillors raise with me directly. And we heard a little bit of that from our questioner earlier on, which was Kelly. However, the aspect of this report with the greatest significance is the wider role our committees and officers in negotiation of Section 106s through LCC are the main beneficiaries of the agreements. They are secured by Melton Borough Council as the planning officer, local planning authority, and as planning officers. And so far, they've secured 99% plus figure, which is quoted to demonstrate our commitment and consistency towards securing funds for essential infrastructure, such as the Southern bypass and the Northern and Eastern bypass, which the leader confirmed is going ahead. We should note that the very large sums already secured towards the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road and the education, which is located at paragraph 4.8. Affordable housing remains a key component of the Section 106 agreements, and we are now able to report strong performance, not just meeting local plan targets, but exceed them in the small number of cases. I'd like to pay tribute to some councillors, namely Councillor Brown, in terms of securing voluntary contributions to affordable housing in his ward. And those local direct negotiations between parish councils, ward councillor and developer can see these benefits, especially for young people. You'll also note we're securing a wide range of affordable housing, speaking in both geographical terms as well as tenureship, meaning we are addressing the needs of all parts of the community in need of affordable housing. And just to expand on that point, most of the affordable housing Melton has delivered before was affordable rent or shared ownership, which is a form of affordable home ownership. We are now securing not only starter homes for young people and first-time buyers who are the age of under 40, but we are also starting to see the build-out rate for discount market housing. This will be housing which will be in perpetuity discounted for people with a local connection. It is also important for councillors to note we're securing funds for new medical facilities in Melton Mowbray in pursuant of that promise in the new corporate plan. And finally, I would like to highlight the work with communities, parish councils in particular, and so that they can be recipients of some of the benefits of development at a truly local level. Such, for example, village hall funds and play equipment. And I know in Councillor Steadman and Evans's ward, they have secured some fantastic Section 106 agreements, and I will also pay tribute to them for securing some voluntary contributions from those working with Davidson's at the application that was at Statham. Members, happy to take debate on this, but and if there are any other questions, but I look forward to a seconder. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Councillor Alston, will you second the motion?
Yes, I'm very happy to second the infrastructure funding statement and withhold any comments until after others have contributed to the debate.
Thank you very much. I will now open it up for debate. Have we got anybody who wishes to speak?
Mr. Mayor, with your permission, if no one does put their hand up to speak, I will make no comment. I'll just leave the second formal.
I can't see any hands up.
No.
What, you're going to put a hand up, are you?
Yeah.
Therefore, the matter that's rather put me off my stride. Anyway, I confirm that no member or officers are indicating a request to speak. using a raised hand, and to confirm that the recommendation has been moved and seconded and noted, but no vote is required. So thank you very much on that. The executive scrutiny protocol for this item, I will seek a mover and a seconder. And following any debate, we'll proceed to a roll call vote administered by the Chief Executive. Councillor Cumbers will move and provide a brief introduction to the report. Councillor Cumbers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would like to move the recommendation, but I will say some words. Yeah. Scrutiny committed to developing an executive scrutiny protocol during this civic year. Over the last few months, a lot of work has gone into the drafting of this protocol. We've attended workshops, researched what other authorities have included in their protocols, and considered the feedback from other members of scrutiny and cabinet. The purpose of this protocol is to clarify the role of the scrutiny committee, provide a framework to define relationships, and set out expectations so the scrutiny can function in a positive way. The document states that the key purpose of the protocol is to clarify the relationship between the Cabinet and the Scrutiny Committee, to encourage effective communication between the two, and as such, to enable and enhance the scrutiny function in delivering positive outcomes in line with its objectives. Amongst other things, the protocol provides information regarding the way in which the scrutiny annual work plan will be formed. The format, scrutiny reviews, how matters should be referred to Cabinet, and portfolio holder attendance at scrutiny. The document is not a statutory requirement, but it was identified in the government's statutory guidance on overview and scrutiny as a matter of good practice. I've worked with members of my committee, the leader and officers of the council in order to develop a document which I hope provides a framework for collaborative, constructive and proactive approach to scrutiny executive relationship. I hope that members will support this protocol for inclusion in the Constitution and see it as a positive step on our scrutiny journey. And just to add really, an awful lot of people, including within the council, don't always sort of quite understand what scrutiny does, but and certainly the public doesn't in this area. But hopefully this will be the beginning. This will be a document that they can all read, can all begin to understand what scrutiny can do and how we can help. And that's our aim as well, to bring in more of the public in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We need a second, but then we have questions.
Right, thank you. Councillor Alston, will you second the motion?
Yeah, very pleased to formally second the executive scrutiny protocol and withhold any comments until later. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
I now open the debate and invite any members use the raise hand function who wishes to speak. I can't see any.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Evans wants to speak.
Sorry?
Councillor Evans wants to speak, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councillor Evans. Yes,
Thank you,
Evans.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to inquire if Councillor Pat Cumbers could include in the recommendation these words, that upon completion of the review by LGA of Melton Borough Council, the protocol is revisited to ensure that it meets any suggestions that are made or recommendations that are made. So in other words, that the scrutiny, that's the wording, I can give you again. The idea behind this is obviously the scrutiny committee will look at the LGA recommendations that are coming in about, I believe, 6 weeks' time, and look at this protocol and see if it needs to be revisited. So I'm asking Mr. Mayor if the proposer would accept that addition to the recommendation.
No, I can see no need for that. I think what's written is perfectly okay. If we need to revisit it at any time, it can be revisited. there's no need to add any more words to this. That's my view.
Right, thank you. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that Chris's idea had gone forward. The LGA Council workbook on scrutiny adds flesh to the statutory guidance. Neither are strong on prioritising work plans and don't mention words such as strategy and risk. The LGA guide does mention corporate priorities and business plans are used for work prioritising. There's not enough in paragraph 3 of the protocol on the weight of risk, business plans, corporate objectives in prioritising work. I was wondering if the wording was open to interpretation, possibly to limit the role of scrutiny. Too lengthy, 2 pages of bullet points cross-referenced to LGA paragraphs would have done to evidence credibility and be less ambiguous. I didn't see anything on the personal qualities and responsibilities of chair and members. The scrutiny committee is an important control in the organisation. I would expect internal audit to audit the role and performance of scrutiny, so I would have expected them to have reviewed this draft protocol against guidance and national best practice and report findings. The report does not cover how the chair is selected. We're a very relatively small group, and particularly 20 from the ruling group. And the chairs could be appointed by the same people who selected them for councillor candidate duties, whether Conservative, Labour, Green, Lib Dem or organised independents, as you get organised independents. An alternative example is that of Leicestershire County Council, who have an opposition councillor chair the scrutiny commission. And as an example, Peter Bedford, a Conservative within the scrutiny commission, is in a different Conservative group to Councillor Byron Rhodes, a cabinet member for resources. I'm not suggesting a member of opposition is automatically the chair, but the option needs including in the protocol and how the most suitable person going forward to the challenges of 2021 post-LGA review is selected. Moving on quickly, tonight we consider the protocol, not the performance of scrutiny. But had scrutiny, risk assessment, internal audit and the committee been operating as per guidance, the leader and portfolio holders would have received reports on performance against high risks and corporate strategic objectives with recommenders, rather than what we have now, death by 1,000 moans and rumours through the consultant and LGA reviews. I'm concerned that this document is presented tonight when there is a report due in 5 weeks following the LGA review. I will vote against. Ends, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Holmes.
Excuse me, can I respond?
Sorry, yes, absolutely right. Yeah.
Can I respond? I'm astonished that Councillor Evans thinks fit to bring a recommendation of this sort. When he was part of scrutiny, he could have had his chance to sort of make any recommendations he wished in the past and didn't bother. In fact, he very rarely speaks at committee. It's usually outside of the committee that he makes his comments. And as far as the chair, the selection of the chair, that's nothing to do with this, with the scrutiny committee. That's the way we run our council, and he can bring up that sort of comment elsewhere. I don't think that the comments that have been made are relevant. We've got a good document here, and as I say, nothing is set in stone. It can be changed if we wished in the future, but I'm sorry here yet again to see the independents just not constructive again, just opposing for the sake of opposing. And I'm shocked again at Councillor Evans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holmes. I mean, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, well, it's just because I've got my wings on tonight. Yeah, I actually thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just thought it was quite a good idea. I didn't know what I never know what Councillor Evans is going to say or anybody else, because we are independents. But I was going to say also that because we had the opportunity to talk to the lady from the LGA, and she listened very hard and long to what a lot of us have said. And I couldn't see a few weeks making a lot of difference. I wasn't saying, I was just merely thinking that there's very little point in having somebody come and who might make who might actually make representation about something like this, because not everybody's happy about everything. I'm not saying they're not happy about most things, but they're not happy about everything. So I can't really see the problem of waiting a few weeks. I just don't quite understand why we can't wait a few weeks. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cumbers, do you want to come back on that?
Not really, except of course, Councillor Holmes has had her opportunities as part of scrutiny committee, if she wanted to add anything. But I just think it's a shame. It could well be that after we have the information from the LGA, we might want to think differently. We might want to think differently about all sorts of things. And this protocol might just be one of many, many things. What we've got is something which has spent, the Cabinet and scrutiny have spent a long time on. It's something that will help us, I think, work better together. And well, I think it's a good document, and I would recommend and I ask you to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other? I can't see anybody else wishing to speak. So I will now request the Chief Executive.
Mr. Mayor, a few words as the formal seconder.
Yep.
I wish to speak again as the right of reply, Mr. Mayor.
We've got the right of reply for what?
I think I've been mentioned several times by the Chairman of Scrutiny.
You made a suggestion which was replied to.
Yes, and then she's made comments about my participation in scrutiny.
By all means, say
and
your piece
also,
quickly.
Mr. Mayor, I still asked for an amendment which she refused, but I've still got the right to speak on this substantive motion, therefore.
It hasn't been seconded, so you haven't. The amendment has not been proposed or seconded, so you have no right, I don't believe. But I look at the Chief Executive.
Proposal or seconding of the motion.
I have proposed.
No one.
Yes,
but this motion has been proposed and seconded. Your amendment has not. Your proposal has your suggestion has neither been proposed nor seconded.
No. I was talking about the substantive motion, Mr. Mayor.
Which was spoken of.
I haven't spoken on the substantive motion.
Sorry, I look for the Chief Executive to help me on this. Yeah,
Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, so my understanding is Councillor Evans sought a variation or an alteration to the substantive motion at a request, and that was put to the proposer, and that was declined. At the time, it didn't appear that Councillor Evans was seeking an amendment because that was not formally proposed, nor was a second assault. If you wish to invite Councillor Evans to have a further comment on this motion, that will be a matter for yourself at Chair's discretion.
In which case I will, certainly. Yeah. I don't want to be had up for a point of order when I'm not allowed to. So Councillor Evans, your piece.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yes, obviously I need to answer some questions and statements by the Chairman of Scrutiny here. I do not consider that this amendment was in any way negative. It was just pointing out a fact that many members, I'm sure, are aware that the LGA review is a substantial one and may have something on us to comment on with scrutiny. And I just wish that the protocol be revisited, therefore, and that was not defining. In my opinion, a good chairman should listen to the members, not dictate to them and tell them what they should think or not think. Scrutiny is defined as a critical observation or examination. We will see later in this council meeting how important it is to ensure it is part of the policies and decisions made by this council. In my opinion, to date, this has not been effectively used in this council. And even when it is, As with the community lottery, it was completely ignored by the executive. That is not to say there has been not some good work in scrutiny. The housing voids review worked well, but it was done, in my opinion, in a vacuum as far as the executive was concerned. The same can be said also of the Task and Finish group, which is working on recovery, which has had, in my opinion, little input from the executive level. This document that we're recommending will not improve the functionality of scrutiny. That can only happen when a more open, and that's a key word, and transparent council, listening, not one where information is difficult to obtain and justification required continually for any questions. Instead, officers and members need to work together at all levels to achieve this great council that I know all of us want to achieve. And let's be clear, I've had 10 years of experience of scrutiny, and I know how it can work, and I also know how it can't work. And at the moment in this council, I can assure you, I would give it about 2 or 3 out of 10. We are nowhere near where it should be, with members and officers working together to find out and improve our services easily and well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Olsen, I see you've got your hand. Okay, actually, would Councillor Cumbers like to come back immediately on that?
I don't think anybody in the council, apart from Councillor Evans, perhaps, would accuse me of being a dictator. I think I'm one of those who always seeks to get agreement and cooperation. I'd give him about 1 out of 10, I think, for the contribution he's made to scrutiny. But I don't think that sort of comment helps any more than his comments he's made about scrutiny and me. I think what we've done a good job. And why shouldn't we have this document now? This document, as soon as it's been approved and it, by council and everything, then it'll be something we can use. We can use this document from the time it's effective. There's a lot in there, and it will help us all, I think, and help the council to be a better council. And I've no doubt it's not perfect. I don't think I've ever known anything perfect. We always look at things, we think about things, and we tweak them. No, I'm sorry that Councillor Evans and the others perhaps aren't as enthusiastic about scrutiny as some of us are. We think it's doing an okay job, and we do, my goodness me, we do work with the Cabinet. We have constant conversations about what we're doing and what they're aiming for and how we can help. That's an ongoing same sort of conversation that I have no doubt Councillor Evans has as well. This is the way we work. And again, I think I'm sorry, I think if it needs changing after the LGA information, that's fine. We could be changing all sorts of things. In fact, the whole council will be changing because of so many different things, including the pandemic and what the effect that's had on us. So no, it could well be that we'll change in the future, like many, many other things. But I would suggest it stands as it is, because it's a good way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cumbers. Councillor Olsen, you've still got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm waiting to formally, well, I have formally seconded it, but it's only appropriate to just say a few words. I mean, Mr. Mayor, seconded this. I just have to say this is democracy at its best, really, isn't it? 18 months, we didn't even have a scrutiny committee. And here we are talking about how to improve it. I think it's absolutely great, this is. It shows the impact that the new systems are having on this council. And let's be honest about the whole thing. What's this about? This is about taking 5.2, providing constructive, critical friend challenge. That's what scrutiny is about. That's what it has done. Amplifying the voices, concerns of the public. Again, that's what it's done. Councillor Cumbers has done that for me. Being led by independent people who take responsibility for their role and drive an improvement in public services. That's all good stuff. That's what scrutiny is about. It's disappointing to hear this wasn't raised at scrutiny, which maybe the Chief Executive can confirm took place only last Monday. What, 3 nights ago? Is that right? Was scrutiny 3 nights ago?
No, it wasn't.
No, we had a
But yeah, I'm not sure which date it went to, but it was fairly recently.
Anyway, it's a shame it wasn't raised at scrutiny, this debate. That was the place to raise this. I fully support Councillor Cumbers. She's been a great chair. And as she said, she really is the last person to really force through her views. She really is. She's open and she always looks at and thinks about the people
Well,
who
yeah, I'm back
not
and I
quite
can
so
hear it.
fortunate. And in this, so she always takes on those views. As for the waiting for the LGA review, I suspect we're 4 weeks off that at least. Then it will have to be talked about and debated by committees. So I'm very much against deferral. Members, come on, let's just get on, vote it through, and then we can talk about any changes when they pop up. So please to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cumbers, was there anything of the proposal you wanted to add before we go to the vote?
That mean? No, I'm all right, thanks.
Thank you very much. So can I confirm that nobody else wishes to speak? And therefore the Chief Executive requests each member in turn to confirm his or her vote. So Chief Executive, over to you.
Mr. Mayor, I can see that Councillor Pritchard has just indicated to speak, so I didn't know whether you wished to seek.
Yes, we'll take him. Councillor Pritchard, he has spoken.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm not on the scrutiny committee, Joe, so I can't rate. This is the first time I've seen it. That was all.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, can I respond?
Sorry, Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, just to respond. Thank you very much, Councillor Pritchett, but I'm well aware Councillor Holmes and Councillor Evans are both on scrutiny, though.
Thank you very much. Now go to the Chief Executive.
Mr. Mayor, could I just make a point of order here? The record will show in the minutes of the meeting that this was discussed. I was not at that meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Could I just say something as well? This hasn't been done in secret, this protocol. It's been mentioned at scrutiny meetings, and if people read the minutes of what goes on elsewhere, perhaps that they would know more and wouldn't feel that they didn't know. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that.
Mr. Mayor, are you happy that I proceed to the vote?
No, get back. If you take a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, if I can ask you once again to confirm whether you are for, against, or abstaining in relation to the motion. Councillor Baines.
For.
Councillor Bindloss.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Carter.
Against.
Councillor Chandler.
I'm not voting, Chief Executive. I lost you for 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
I've been in touch with Natasha. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Councillor Child.
For.
Councillor Cumbers.
For.
Councillor de Boer.
For.
Councillor Douglas.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Faulkner.
For.
Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Freer-Jones.
For.
Councillor Clancy.
For.
Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Hewson.
Against.
Councillor Higgins.
Oh.
Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes.
Unmute. Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Illingworth.
For.
Councillor Lumley.
For.
Councillor Olsen.
For.
Councillor Pearson.
For.
Councillor Posnett.
For.
Councillor Pritchett.
Against.
Councillor Smedley.
For.
Councillor Steadman.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
And Councillor Wood.
Against.
Just bear with me one moment, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I have 21 for, 5 against, and 2 abstentions.
Thank you very much. The motion has been carried 21 for, 5 against and 2 abstentions. Thank you. Item 11, recommendations, reports from committees. There were no recommendations, reports from committees received. Item 12, a cabinet report to the council, mid-year treasury management report. So I seek a mover. Councillor de Burgh, will you move?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The mid-year treasury management report is an important document and a requirement of council's reporting procedures. It provides a summary to council of treasury management activities to the end of September 2020. To clarify, treasury management is the process of managing funds that are not currently needed, which can be put to good use by being invested to generate income. Members will recognise that our office's customary success in this area has contributed significantly over recent years. Members will be pleased to know that capital investment decisions are guided by 2 codes: the CIPFA Code for Practice on Treasury Management and the CIPFA Prudential Code for Capital Finance in Local Authorities, and that through regulations issued under the Local Government Act 2003, we're required to rigorously apply both in our treasury management activities, and additionally, that we, the council, receive a regular report on the outcomes of those activities. The paper before you includes 2 documents: the report, which provides an overview of the prevailing conditions and states the recommendations, pages 51 to 55, and the actual treasury management statement itself. That's at Appendix A, pages 57 to 74. It's a big document. In the report, items 4 to 4.7 deals with prevailing conditions. For example, at 4.6, we can see a summary of the COVID-19 impact on our investments. The bank rate was cut from 1.25% to 0.01%, and that over the first 2 quarters of September, our property fund dropped in value by some £160,000. 3, and how the introduction of IFRS 9 has resulted in a change to how our £2 million investment in the CCLA property fund is treated. And fluctuations to value may now impact on provision of services. Of particular interest to members is the report at 4.81, where a proposal is being developed for members' consideration to fund a £1 million investment to reduce the cost pressures on the homeless budget and provide a better service is outlined. Moving on to Appendix A, the strategy document. At 1.1, we can see that CIPFA issued revised management codes that came into effect at the beginning of 2021 fiscal year, which strengthened the control of public finance to protect financial sustainability, the provision of services, and management of risk. As a council, we operate to a balanced budget, and part of our treasury management operation seeks to ensure that cash flow is properly managed to secure that outcome. As a council, beg your pardon, moving through the document, at 3.1, there is a wide-ranging economic update. This, of course, is still being largely influenced by the COVID situation and uncertain. There's a lot about quantitative easing and potential for unemployment. The cheery bit, the take from it, is the forecast that in Q3 of 2022, the economy is expected to be expanding quickly and the CPI is projected to be above 2%. So it looks as if there's a ray of sunshine considered in the future. 3.2 looks at the Public Works Loan Board loan interest rates, and we can see a marginal 0.2% increase is forecast in the longer term loans over the 2 years, March 21 to March 23. Plus quite a lot about lower investment returns in the UK and around the world's markets. At 5.1, we get on to the bones of our position and the prudential indicators. we can see a revised estimate for capital expenditure, with both HRA and non-HRA raising the bar by 0.801 million, in other words, £800,000 or thereabouts over the original estimates. 5.2 explains how that change will be met from resources we have access to: capital receipts, capital grants, capital reserves, and revenue. 5.3 and 5.4 indicates that our capital funding requirement should not change on the basis of that from the original estimate of 31.449 million, which is well inside our authorised borrowing limit of 45.92 million. Finally, to investment returns. Normally, Mr. Mayor, my favourite bit, members, we held 20.5 million in investments at the 31st of March and had a budgeted return expectation of 357,000. Because of matters already reported, the performance of the markets is lower than planned, and we are currently anticipating a shortfall of £104,000 against that expected return. Circumstances completely beyond our control. David, your credentials are well established and quite safe. Just make up for it next year, if you can. Mr. Mayor, members, I have covered the meat of the report, which shows that we are meeting the requirements of both the CIPFA Code of Practice on Treasury Management and the CIPFA Prudential Code for Capital Finance in local authorities. And I'd like to move on the recommendations at 2.1, which is to recommend to Council that the mid-year position on Treasury activity for 2020-21 be noted. 2.2, recommend to Council that the mid-year position on the prudential indicators for 2021-22 be approved. 2020-21 be approved. And at 2.3, note the potential for borrowing to be undertaken as outlined in paragraph 4.8.1 to be initially financed through internal borrowing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Duval. Councillor Alston, would you like to speak?
Yeah, very pleased to get Cabinet report to the Council Mid-Year Treasury Management Report 2020-21 recommendations 2.12223. Withhold any comments until later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Child, I see, wishing to speak. Councillor Child.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that very concise report on the Treasury Management. As the Mayor and I will well know, for many years, the actual return on investment has far exceeded the budget. This surplus has then been used to prop up some of the other council budgets, which were overspent at that time. However, with a likely deficit of over 100,000, this will not happen. And it is disappointing, but not unexpected news, which will place further pressure on the council to achieve a balanced budget for the new financial year. Was the shortfall as a result of a lower level of balances coupled with the lower level of interest rates, or just the lower level of interest rates? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Child. Councillor de Boer, would you like to answer that?
Yes, if the shortfall that Rob is referring to is the 800,000, no, that wasn't related.
No, the 100,000, the difference between the budgeted return, you've got 104,000.
You mean the expected return from investments, Rob, don't you?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. The figure I quoted simply relates to the drop in performance against our investments, yes.
Well, I just wonder whether it was interest rates or, which it clearly is, or a lower level of balances, or combination of both.
It's, as I read it as I understand it, it is from the reduced interest rates that our investments are achieving through that period of time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Child. And I remember well helping out for many years with the excess returns on our investment. They were very welcome at the time. Thank you. Councillor Pritchett, Your hand is up.
Can I thank Councillor de Burle again for his summary report, and thank you for the earlier one you did in the summer, Ronnie. Thank you very much. And again, I'm grateful to the experience of Councillor Childs in his assessment of the reports. It's one point I've got, and it's not necessary for a response for tonight. It's about the risk of having investments in town city centre property, and something Mark Carney said before leaving the Bank of England, advising people not to get caught with pension funds and other investments in coal and other fossil fuels that could end up being valueless overnight. So I would just like yourself and David and Dawn to consider those two issues as you go forward, Ronnie. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge.
Right. Councillor Higgins.
Yeah, it's just as Councillor de Burle said, it's just to draw members' attention to section 4.8 and as specifically as he said 4.8.1. I think a lot of people know, especially at this time of year, homelessness is is an issue sometimes at Christmas. Family breakdowns and mental health issues as well. But this is certainly saying that the council is looking to draw from its reserves and funding into temporary accommodation as an investment project, because at the moment, obviously, what this council does and other councils do is utilise bed and breakfasts or hotels, and that can be quite expensive on a per night basis. And what I think through this paper and then subsequent papers we've got tonight is extracting the value of this is to deliver a key aim of our corporate strategy of supporting people, especially homeless people and vulnerable people when they're going through difficult times and family breakups, sometimes from domestic abuse. So I think this is some really good news, Mr. Mayor, and I know you've spoken at length on these kind of points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Higgins. And then I've just got Councillor Olsen, who was the seconder. Do you want to come back on anything?
I don't think there's any need for me to prolong this anymore, other than just a remark, which I always do at this time of year. I always think of Councillor O'Callaghan, a former leader, on this night, when he used to just love this report coming forward and used to wax lyrical about the latest Labour Party, who were in government in those days, financial successes, and I still miss his reports. But anyway, pleased to second, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't see anybody else wishing to speak, so I will call on the Chief Executive to take a roll call vote. Chief Executive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, members, if I can ask you to indicate for, against or abstain, please. Councillor Baines.
For.
Councillor Bindloss.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Carter.
Abstain.
Councillor Chandler. Councillor Chandler. I'll come back to you, Councillor Chandler. Councillor Child.
For.
Councillor Cumbers. Councillor Cumbers. I shall return to you as well, Councillor Cumbers. Councillor de Burle.
For.
Councillor Douglas.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Faulkner.
For.
Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Freer-Jones.
For.
Councillor Glancy. Councillor Glancy.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Hewson.
For.
Councillor Higgins.
For.
Councillor Holmes.
For.
Councillor Illingworth.
For.
Councillor Lumley.
For.
Councillor Olsen.
For.
Councillor Pearson.
For.
Councillor Posnett.
For.
Councillor Pritchett.
For.
Councillor Smedley.
For.
Councillor Steadman.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
Councillor Wood.
For.
And Councillor Chandler. I shall mark Councillor Chandler as abstaining. Councillor Cumbers.
For.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can confirm that it's 26 for with 2 abstentions.
Thank you very much. So that is carried 26 for, 2 abstentions. Cabinet report to the Council Business Rate Pool funding update,
Mayor?
Asset Development Programme.
Mr. Mayor, can I just come in there?
Councillor Higgins. Oh, sorry, yes.
Mr. Mayor, can we just allow Democratic Services to move the 2 councillors that have declared interests into the other room?
Oh, we can. Sorry. Yeah. Let me know when they've arrived. Councillor Orson, you've got your hand up. Oh, Councillor Carty's got his hand up as well.
Mr. Mayor. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We're waiting for the next item. We're just waiting for councillors to come in. Yep.
Did the chief exec said 26-4 and 2 abstentions?
Yes, 26-2. Yeah.
So how can it be if 2's out the meeting, not voting?
Because 2 are outside. 2 have excused themselves from.
Yeah, so how can it be 26-4?
And that is for this item. For the item we considered previously, there were 28 initially present. Councillor Chandler wasn't able to participate, and Councillor Carter indicated he has abstained. So that was 26-4 and 2 abstentions.
Is that on the last one, Ed?
Yes, Councillor Carter, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm the councillors have been moved to attendees, so you can proceed with this item.
Brilliant. So we're now on item 13, the Cabinet report for Council Business Rate Pool funding update, Asset Development Programme phase. Councillor Higgins, will you move and provide a brief introduction to the report?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to move at the order paper. If I could just do a clerical correction as well at 2.1, where it says on the bottom line, Council's capitals receipts as set out in section 10 of Appendix A. If I can correct that to section 9, which should be financial considerations in Appendix A. So if everybody is okay with that, I will continue. Okay, thank you. Okay, so just on this paper, this particular paper has been a pivotal paper and linchpin of what the council has been looking to do for a number of years, all the way back and since it was on the committee system of October 2018. This also has gone through several stages, including presentations to scrutiny, various updates and briefings to members throughout, and also through to the cabinet. This paper is proposing the next stage in the review of council-owned sites. Since its journey since October 2018, it has also been presented to scrutiny in June 2019, Cabinet in April 2020, and full council through the first corporate strategy and then the re-adopted corporate strategy, which full council has all voted on. There's been several updates provided to members who've raised any particular questions on this throughout its journey. What this paper is not proposing, and it is really important because I understand on the Melton Times there has been an article on this, which isn't quite correct, so I need to be very clear on this. What this is not proposing, it's not proposing to shut down any service or any operation down. It is not proposing forcing any organisation to move out of any building or any asset. And it is not proposing to sell Phoenix House. What this paper is proposing, it is asking permission to preparing design at Parkside to see if some of the occupiers, which include the Melton Learning Hub, may want to move at Parkside so we can rationalise our own assets. So it's also asking for permission to consider moving the excellent service being Me and My Learning, potentially to the Cove, which is currently vacant, and to provide any suitable service for the Me and My Learning service. And it is also from this paper to renovate. It is also to do renovated services, which the portfolio, Alan Pearson, will also maybe touch on a bit later. It is also to seek approval to explore options what we do, not just with Phoenix House, but all the assets that the council owns. And once they have, if they do become a vacant possession, it is not necessarily asking today to sell it or develop it, but it is to look at what we may want to do with it in the future or anything else. What we are saying through this paper as well, it will come back in May and again in December to Cabinet, and what I have discussed with the Chair of Scrutiny and also said at the Cabinet yesterday, I'm very happy for the work that comes out from the outcome of today's paper to go via Scrutiny for any next steps. If I can just touch on that, where I think Scrutiny could add value to this particular piece of work, it could look, Scrutiny, I would value where Scrutiny can look at what happens to these particular sites. So there are a range of options that are ideas at the moment, from soft market testing. Some may start to emerge through this particular piece of work. It would be invaluable for councillors and the Scrutiny Committee to suggest what they feel is the best way forward. And that may be to keep the site as it is. Also, I think Scrutiny could add value if we look to sell on any sites, is what that money could be used for. We spoke on the previous paper, which Councillor de Belle put forward, for example, investment in temporary accommodation to help homeless people, people fleeing domestic abuse, for example. What we have certainly not done, and where the Melton Times has slightly got this wrong, we have not served any notice or asked any tenant to leave early next year, nor does this paper mean that that will happen on a unilateral basis immediately following this vote. I'm certainly happy to take particular questions on this and all the way through, but just to talk more about the more exciting parts of this paper. In terms of, for example, the Cattle Market North site, and as you will know, Mr. Mayor, when you was leader of the council, the Cattle Market North has stood vacant for over a decade. It is sat there now not doing anything or adding any value or income to this council, but it could potentially provide those capital receipts. And then from capital receipts, which we may look to, from rationalising our estate, it could end up doing something which I know members is close to their heart with the housing company. I know a lot of councillors have mentioned that, especially the member for the Gadsby ward. He raises that all the time to secure income and provide housing for young people. The other aim is we need to make sure that we're on a financially sustainable model, and that keeps feeding into the development of other assets and reducing the need to borrow, and therefore the council's exposure to risk. And if I just may add, just before I pass on to the seconder, is what we are strategically looking to do. The council has made commitments to secure better value from its assets, and this report sets out a number of explicit steps required that we are able to do this. Having secured significant external grant funding to support this aspiration, the report is seeking approval for commissioning a redesign of Parkside and the Cove to explore if some occupiers from Phoenix House may want to move into these buildings. With Leicestershire County Council withdrawing from Melton and leaving Parkside in December 2021, the council will lose a significant amount of income. And obviously with COVID, office space now is not really particularly in demand. So therefore, by exploring the potential to move other occupiers from our portfolio into this building, we can retain income and reduce the cost of running other buildings. We can also help mitigate the lost income from the county council. Even if we don't go ahead with the development from Phoenix House, reducing operational costs generally is imperative given the wider financial challenge. I will be happy to take any questions on this through any debate, Mr. Mayor, with your permission, but I look for a seconder.
Councillor Alston, would you like to second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, very pleased to support the recommendation at 2-1. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Cumbers, then Councillor Wilkinson, and Councillor Brown.
Yeah, right. I think it's absolutely appropriate for the council at the moment to be taking stock of its assets. We're short of money. We're in a terrible pandemic, and though I know this has been ongoing for a while, we need to consider all options before making decisions, so that we're really well informed and give the best value for our residents. I'm glad to hear the proposal. It should come to scrutiny because I think that's really appropriate. I mean, it could come from the council, or of course it could come from cabinet, that suggestion. And I'm sure we would welcome it and consider putting it on our work plan and taking it forward. But it needs a lot of research. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing to be doing, you know, looking at our assets and thinking about selling. I mean, somebody said the other day, it's not always maybe not a good time to be selling at the moment, but maybe it is, you know. And what we have got, we've got Phoenix. Sorry, I can hear voices.
Don't worry, keep going.
Yeah, what we have got, we've got Phoenix House, and last time I was there, which was a few months ago, there was hardly anybody in there. Now, I know there's some really good stuff going on there, but they're not using the whole building. And any of us, any business, if they had an asset, they would want it to be used properly. And with the county council leaving Parkside, we've got to really sort of think and sort ourselves out for the future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to briefly speak in favour of the recommendation this evening. With key partners, particularly Leicestershire County Council, having given notice that they're withdrawing from MBC buildings, it's only right that the Borough Council takes stock of its assets that we currently have and how they're being utilised. Given that the County Council plan to be out of Parkside and other buildings by the end of 2021, now is the right time to be having this review. This is to ensure that we're able to continue to provide high quality services with good value for money and to minimise the loss in revenue that the County Council's departure poses. There are a range of buildings across MBC's estate which are currently being underused and are at this moment in time making a loss for the council. Phoenix House is an example where the council urgently needs to assess the viability of the asset, given that it's currently barely breaking even. There is no prospect of any new tenants coming on board anytime soon. The building is also in need of repair and will only deteriorate further without significant further investment. If, and it's a big if, Phoenix House did become vacant, I see this potential vacancy and sale as an opportunity. Given that the County Council is already withdrawing community services from the children's centres that the Borough Council owns, I'd very much be in favour of Melton's own community projects and services being delivered in the community. For my residents in Sizenby, this is an opportunity for services to be more accessible to them at the Cove and even at the Fairmead Community Centre. This would have huge benefits for residents in my ward, as these services could be directly on their doorstep rather than a walk or a drive into the town centre. The cattle market is also the perfect location for new housing, with its close proximity to the town centre and local schools. This has a potential to bring new vibrancy to the town centre, something that the town centre desperately needs. Furthermore, given that the site has potential to generate £2.5 to £3 million for the council, I think it's a no-brainer. This money can be used to kickstart our own Melton Housing Company, helping to deliver affordable homes for young people, whilst also enabling the council to generate additional income. Furthermore, any house building work has the potential to create 144 full-time jobs in town, whilst the construction work takes place. This surely can only benefit our local economy here in Melton. Mr. Mayor, I can only see a positive impact that can come from this review. And as a member of the Scrutiny Committee, I look forward to examining any further proposals, and I'm delighted the portfolio holder will continue to engage with me as the ward member on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, I also welcome the report, but I think there's a number of different caveats that we need to be conscious of, and we need to be conscious of risks, but also opportunities. I think the report itself potentially undersells us ourselves. The value of the land and putting those values in the report is something that, as somebody who working in property services myself, I wouldn't advise when I'm selling houses, for example, this week, to publicise the actual values out into the public domain. However, I think these are two good strategic sites. and can probably generate a lot more money for the council than what we are stating in these reports. And I've thanked the portfolio holder for the conversations that we've had today, for the responses that he has given me to the questions that I have asked, which have been very thorough. However, there is a couple of things that I just want to make my views known, so that when we go forward and we actually scrutinise the options, that we're given a full and frank opportunity to scrutinise those properly. And at the end of this, I would like the portfolio holder, Councillor Higgins, to say that he is fully determined to listen to scrutiny and give us the back, and that if we come up with a different recommendation that's contrary to maybe what officers want but stacks up financially, that will be listened to. In relation to the sites, I think what's happened over the last number of days, people have let the actual what might be happening on the sites complicate things, and I think it would be wrong for us to assume that we're actually going to do X, Y, or Z on those sites. To assume that we're going to build housing would be wrong. We've not got there yet. To assume that we're going to build some food manufacturing on a site is wrong. We are not there. If that's what the decision we're making tonight, I couldn't support that. It has to be a very open, transparent, and honest process, because if we're going to take dumb decisions, that is not the way that we want to be transparently working. And I've been reassured today by the leader and by the deputy leader that that is not the case, and that we're going to come into this with an open and frank an open mind and outlook. But I just want to put across to everybody the sort of risks that we can happen. It will be easy for us to go and accept 3 million, 6 million, maybe for a couple of sites. We need to make sure that if that's what we do, we actually have a strategic plan where that money is going to be invested. Is it going to be invested in something that's going to dwindle away, we lose the resource? It shouldn't be. It should be invested into an activity, a project, a business opportunity that generates real cash revenue back into the council to then use on services that are much needed in the community, such as homelessness, which Councillor Higgins has mentioned, maybe such as reducing crime, improving community safety, etc. There is a number of services on the Phoenix House site that are important to the people of Melton, and I feel a proper impact assessment should be made. So, for example, the great work that the venue does, if that facility is not located in a good strategic area of Melton Mowbray, we have the likelihood of that service failing. If that service fails, we then have the likelihood of crime increasing. If crime increases, then we have increased homelessness. Then all the good work that we've done with the money we've invested isn't enough, because we need more housing to house the homeless. And that's just the example that I want to make. But we need to do something. The finances are difficult. The finances are stretched. And if Councillor Higgins can reassure me of those two questions I've asked tonight, I'm happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you very much.
With your permission, I'll be happy to answer the questions all at the end, because I know there's a lot coming through, but it's up to you.
I think probably best make a note and answer them all at the end and summing up. We've got Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mayor. I will support this. I voted for it to move forward because I was assured it was going through scrutiny, which I think is very important. That's number one. So I was assured that it's not a done deal, that there's a long way to go. I have had another meeting because I did challenge it. I did question, for me, slight along the lines of Councillor Brown, that we have three centres that was strategically built in Melton to provide services to the more needy, the more vulnerable. And sadly, I must confess, a couple of years ago, a lot of the services were withdrawn by the County Council. I voted against it. In fact, the way it was handled wasn't very good. I had a meeting today, and one of the issues concerned me was the Cove, having me and My Learning, who I've met with all the staff as well, who are brilliant. I can just recommend everybody to have a look at the programme. They do a great job. And what we came up with, and I was assured, and I spoke to Andrew, the director, that Me and My Learning, we won't lose community services from there, because they can do some of them, and they can also provide some of the services at the other two centres, Fairmead and the Edge. So therefore, there's an opportunity there. So we've gone from, I went from being a little bit concerned that Me and My Learning can run some of these programs, can take them on. They will still be community centres. People can still go in there. They still can pop in. They will be open at night. So we won't lose that. So having that recommendation, that's made me feel a lot more confident. Having it going through scrutiny, which I believe do an excellent job. I'm very confident that they will scrutinise, and so I'm very passionate. But one of the caveats, one of the concerns I've had, and I did say this today, on just two issues. A number of years ago, I worked with a family in Melton, and the end of the year, it was the social services support, etc., was over £65,000. We had one case, or two, but one case at the county council where one young lady cost £900,000 for 1 year for the support, 24 hours, a special location, all the expertise. That sometimes is the cost of. We've got to be careful of vulnerable people and families. It's not cheap, and we need to keep an eye on that. And early intervention and these programs that we've had in the past. And I know Councillor Mayor Melise knows some of the great programs we've had in the past. We have reduced antisocial behaviour, and so it's important that we get the early intervention, and that will save money as well in the future. But I'm confident I support this proposal once again, because it will go through scrutiny and more people will be involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pearson. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm struggling to support this recommendation, and I'll give you the reasons why. First of all, it's really unfortunate timing. We all know that we're in the middle of a crisis here, one health-wise we haven't seen since the Spanish flu. It's not getting better at the moment. We don't even know if the vaccinations will work to halt its remorseless approach through our society. And here we are looking at one of our most active centres for vulnerable people, the homeless, which everybody in this council is saying could astronomically increase shortly. And we're telling the staff who are in there, they may be moving. This is very, in my opinion, incredibly unfortunate timing for the people who have to look after the most vulnerable in our society. And they could be moving to Parkside. Who knows where they're moving? And to be honest, scrutiny, yes, it has a role, but that will take time. And we're now going to have a time where they won't know what's going to happen. And that concerns me greatly. I have to say, to me at the moment, there is no clear vision in this policy. There's no business case, there's no due diligence, this plan. Just remember, members, about 2 weeks ago, we were shown basically a Gantt chart of how quickly this was going to progress. Work starts on this in January. That is, we will employ solicitors to look at the options. And I can assure you, once you start down that path, by April time, we will have spent a lot of money looking at getting rid of effectively Phoenix House. There will be difficulties pulling back from that once you've gone down that path. I also have concerns. I wonder how many of you have actually seen the report that this phase of development is based upon. It's done by a consultant called Arsini, which I've got hold of. And there is a crucial statement in this report that makes it very clear they have real concerns that when we kept this site, there could have been a condition imposed by our nearest retail neighbour that if we were to consider selling it, it could be done, could only be done at a set price. There has been no discussion further, and no one knows whether that clause still holds. That concerns me greatly, that from April 2020, when this report was commissioned and finished, we still don't know. Here we are 9 months later, and we still don't know in this phase of development if we have any of the options that have been put forward by this case. Because if that contract is in there somewhere, and I believe it might be, we can go nowhere with Phoenix House except with one customer if we decide to vacate. That's why I'm concerned. Could I also say about scrutiny? It's wonderful that I think the executive think they have the power to decide whether scrutiny takes place on a decision or not. If that's the case, I think we are in a real trouble as a council. It is up to the scrutiny committee with its chair to decide what it scrutinises and what it doesn't. We have a plan. The chair said she knew exactly what was coming from Cabinet. Why was this not part of the programme for this year if she knew this was coming from Cabinet? There is nothing in the plan to address this massive release of assets. You'd think it would be one of the most important things for scrutiny to study this year or next, not mentioned. That is my concern. Scrutiny needs to know what's coming, needs warning, and needs to examine whether it wants to do it or not be told by the executive whether it's doing scrutiny on something or not. That is not how scrutiny should work, because otherwise,
point of clarification,
the Cabinet could decide whether we scrutinise something or not, and that should surely not be the right way. Read the government documents on it. That is not the way scrutiny works. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pritchett, just before we go on, having been very involved in the development of the supermarket, I can't believe that I would have agreed to selling a bit of land at a fixed price 10 years ago, forever and ever. And I do feel that the documents must be around somewhere. Councillor Pritchett.
Mr. Mayor, could I just do a point of clarification? I'll just on that particular point. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Evans just said it's not for the executive to decide what the scrutiny does. I didn't say that I'm deciding or the Cabinet's deciding. I said I'm inviting, and I think the chair is taking up that challenge. It's not for me to dictate that, and I think this is another conspiracy theory. So, but it's up to scrutiny how they want. We just want to involve members. And Councillor Evans keeps going on about these conspiracy theories. He's not involved in everything. We're trying to include him, and he's now saying it's not up to me. It's not. But if you don't want to do it, Councillor Evans, that's up to you.
Point of information, I didn't say that. I just said it's up to the scrutiny.
Sorry, Councillor Evans. Can't have discussions going on. Councillor Pritchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Leader, I thank Councillor Higgins for the update since the papers were issued, the flexibility that he's just mentioned, and I hope I can make my notes more flexible than when they were written this afternoon. I thank Councillor Wilkinson again for a well-prepared and eloquent statement, and particularly Councillor Brown, who has said more eloquently than me how I feel about the situation. It's more euphemistic, and I think it needs to be put in the minutes, whatever is agreed, of what Councillor Brown said about the flexibility about working forward. The reason scrutiny is late to such a big issue and internal audit is one of the reasons that I voted against the earlier paper. My issue is that I know something needs to be done, some rationalisation of property and such like. It's the wider picture that links to this food zone, the cattle market, that was sort of a good idea a few years back. And I've not seen a vision for Melton Mowbray 2030. And however every project each month, the North Master Plan, the South Park area, I don't see how it all fits together. It's like pushing a balloon in. Push a balloon in, a lump comes out the other side. Has the food zone been reappraised? I don't see a business case for direct income and indirect local contribution, or the cattle market as a benefit to footfall. There's rumours that need sorting out regarding the location of Brooks Bay. And when we go through this journey, as I think Councillor Brown and Higgins seem to be agreeing that you're starting on this journey of having a look at this. When it goes through, I would like to see at least 10 of the 15 Melton councillors really enthusiastic about it, because it's their town and they need to own what the future is, decisions made for the good of the town and employment. And I believe we have a responsibility to hand over in 2023 an organisation in good order, if possible. And we could have the Melton Borough Council, we could have a town and unitary council to inherit this of new councillors. When I support an agenda item, but the report content is not persuasive how it's going to be achieved, I will abstain. But tonight, I do support what Councillor Brown has been saying, but there's not enough detailed business plan, check of finance, to show me that once we've sorted this money out and we go forward with this food zone, that we're not, I've got no indication that we're building back better, but I do welcome the scrutiny and the way forward. And just to comment on the houses for sale, you will find it won't help your town centre if you don't have people in those houses with disposable income, and it's been found elsewhere. So I think it's very good to build smaller places, social housing, etc. But don't expect them to be going into the town to spend millions as an assumption. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Faulkner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I welcome the report and I look forward to seeing what can be done with these spaces, because they are in my ward. You know, the cattle market and the Phoenix House and the Cove as well. They're all in the Edgerton ward, and they've been underused or unused for many years. And anything that's done to regenerate those areas and make money for the council has got to be worth looking into. So I'm looking forward to seeing how things progress with this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Faulkner. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes.
I thought you'd forgotten me. Never mind.
No.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there are quite a few things here. I've been actually this afternoon finding out a lot of the assets that we have and we haven't got. For we have got quite a bit, and one of those bits actually is Snow Hill. There's an awful lot of area at Snow Hill. I don't know whether anybody's ever looked at it, but there's an awful lot of area there. A lot of the old buildings, they're not very good. I don't know how the rent situation is there. I have known at some times that it's not been good. But that is very close to the town, and it is a big, big area. I have got to say, the cattle market, I don't know who's actually been looking at roofs and perches and things, but obviously they haven't looked at the acreage because it isn't 6 acres. And you say it has, if you have animals, and I'm talking now for the rural areas, I understand the town is very important, but also the rural areas are equally important as we are a rural community. When you are selling cattle and sheep or whatever you might be selling, you actually have to have turning areas for lorries, and you have washing down areas. That is essential. It's not something that you might have to have. It is essential, because we are the cleanest and the keenest to do the right thing for our environment, and that is farmers. Anyway, that's one thing. So I would like that looked into. The other thing is, I have been talking to people at Phoenix House. Now, as you quite rightly say, Mr. Deputy Leader, I'm sure that a lot of people haven't been told that they have got to move or anything like that. But the one area that I do know about is if you get funding from the lottery. if you get funding from the lottery and if you move from that place, you then have to give the money back to the lottery. Now, some of this lotteries for the hub was £25,000, I understand. So I don't know who's going to give that back, but that's if that was moved, because it has to be for that place. The other thing is, apparently we have the car firm, do we not, at Phoenix House? Well, the offices have to be open from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. There are probably 50 odd cars. There are washing down areas. So where's that going to be at Phoenix, at Parkside? One thing that somebody said to me the other day when we were talking about putting houses here, putting houses there, our town, unfortunately, is almost empty. Why don't we use those empty shops and areas? Why don't we put people in those? Why don't we have flats? Why don't we have little houses? Because it's amazing that we could, I know we seem to be going back in time, but we could have a viable community within Melton with the areas that are not used. And so finally, I feel that there is one thing that we could do. We, the Melton Council, could go to Phoenix House and we could sell Parkside. Probably that would be the best thing to do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Lumley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to add that this is, you know, a really good step in the right direction. I have to say, it is only the Conservative group on this council that really have got a plan for this. I don't see any other parties, opposition, actually have got a plan. And it's the same. It's the same back in Westminster. It's constantly the Conservative Party. You might agree or disagree, but they're the only ones that have got a plan for these things. And I think that's a good thing. And I think this is personally a very good step in the right direction. I am a little concerned from what I've read quite recently is that there are about 3 councils that I know of in the UK that are about to issue Section 114s because part of the problem is that their new housing companies that they've actually created are almost about to go under, to go bust. So we've just got to be very, very careful of this, how we go. I'll just say, in undertaking a project of this size, I think it's a really good idea. We've got to make sure that we have former private sector officers that can take the charge on this, and not public sector officers that have worked in the public sector, you know, perhaps all of their lives, but haven't got that commercial sense. We've got to make sure it's done properly. There's something else I wanted to say, and I can't think of it, but yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Thank you. Oh, that's it. I was just going to ask. That was it. In undertaking this, have we actually looked at other councils around the UK that have also very sort of recently taken a plan to go down this route, and see how it's going so far? Thank you.
Very much. I think the Deputy Leader will answer all those questions. Yeah. Councillor Steadman.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, could I just seek the clarification from Mr. Lumley? When he says look to other councils, is that for housing companies, Councillor Lumley, or is that
both?
And what's the other both part? So I've got housing companies.
Well, just, you know, obviously the plan here that the cabinet have got, that was selling the assets, etc., and the plans of this size. I think it's got to, you know, sort of start benchmark against other councils.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again,
thank you.
Councillor Steadman.
I have 2 questions. The first one is the ICENI report. I've not seen a copy of it, and it's the first I've heard of it today. So I'm actually quite concerned to learn that Sainsbury's have probably got first refusal on this site at a fixed price, which could potentially lay all of these plans to waste anyway. So I think initially we should be looking at establishing exactly what deal was cut with Sainsbury's, if the portfolio holder or director know. My second question is, am I all right to stop my video for 5 minutes and take a comfort break? I can take the iPad with me. I just don't want the video on.
I would have thought so.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I'll give you discretion. Christmas. Councillor Orson. Councillor Orson.
Yeah, I'm not going to make comments as a formal seconder, but I do feel like you, Mr. Mayor, I do have to respond on this. I think it is a perceived agreement we have with Sainsbury's. Yeah, I too, like you, have a long memory. I do remember Sainsbury's expressed an interest in buying the Parkside site, as we called it, for a petrol pump and associated things like that. I seem to remember they bid something around 5 million or something like that, which we turned down as not sufficient. I have no recollection whatsoever of any long-term agreement that where Melton Borough Council is tied to a fixed price or even that they have the first option. This is the first I've heard of it, and it'd be interesting when the legal bods do turn it up, and I'll put 99.8%, a bit like the 106 for the county council, 99.8%, it's just not there. It's ours to sell.
I think you, Councillor Wilson. And surely it is a yes or no. It was only the last 11 years ago we signed all the documents. We must have them. And if we haven't, probably Sainsbury's have. But
Mr.
I don't
Mayor,
feel really something commercial like this, we should be discussing it. Yep.
If I can provide some assistance there, Mr. Mayor, I think that before any matter proceeded to completion, we would do our relevant due diligence checks. So if there was anything highlighted, we'd have to consider that at that time.
You're absolutely right. It'd be brought to your attention in no uncertain manner. Councillor Wood.
Yeah, it's really just a reflection in terms of the Melton Learning Hub more than anything else. Obviously, an absolutely crucial and central sort of community resource. And having spoken to a constituent earlier on today, I think there is genuine concern that in essentially moving that service to perhaps other locations around the town, that those new locations may not actually be able to support the breadth of activity that the hub is actually involved in. And I would be looking for sort of really some reassurances that there is genuine dialogue and genuine reflection upon ensuring that if they're essentially eventually needing to move out of a space that obviously suits them extremely well for the spectrum of activities that they're involved in, that they don't actually end up in essentially substandard spaces that constrains them or stops them from being involved within those activities, because obviously this is an absolutely crucial service for young people within the town and particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Baines.
Hi all, I just thought I'd pipe up as a property solicitor. I think it's highly unlikely that there's a right of preemption for Sainsbury's. I highly doubt it because they weren't parties to the initial contract, were they?
Well, they were, but they were for the main land. But no, there was a lot of discussion went on about a service station, and nothing came of it. So that,
yeah, I think.
But anyway, the legal side
it'll be time limited as well. So if there would be a time limit as to how long that agreement would last for. I think that this does need to be looked at, and we need to make sure that there is no right of preemption, because obviously it does impact what we can and can't do moving forward, depending on what the council decides tonight.
No, I think someone's flying a kite, and it's, I can't think of any more. Councillor Pritchett.
Just two quick points. One for Councillor Lumley. The independent group. Since we went to the cabinet system and scrutiny rather than an economics committee with representation, we have no forum for bringing our ideas forward other than discussing in private. But the final point I wish to make that I didn't make earlier, as I say, I double up on welcoming the agreement to be flexible and taking this forward between Councillor Higgins and Councillor Brown. However, I will make the point that at the beginning of the meeting, the leader read out his statement of what we've done and what we're going to do, and mentioned starting with the food thingy early in the new year. And given that we've got the bypass one day and then we haven't got it another day, I'm going on safety side and we'll be voting against rather than abstaining. But that's for me, and that's all from me until it's voting time.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I can't see that anybody else wishes to speak. So Councillor Higgins, oh, hang on. Yes, there. So Councillor Higgins, would you like to answer as many questions as you can?
Yeah, so so if I could just put the Director of Growth and Regeneration just on note, so when I finish, if there is any closing comments from her for officers. As I understand from the advice I've received from officers, I think as you rightly said, Mr. Mayor, there is no known at this stage anyway agreement between Sainsbury's and Melton Borough Council, but I'll leave that to officers, and I think also it does serve, obviously, when having councillors who've got experience of time to know what was said in the room, because I wasn't an elected councillor at the time. So thank you for your wise counsel there, Mr. Mayor. If I get this in any order or I mess people out, I do apologise, but I think I've wrote everything down. So we've got so from Councillor Cumbers. I think you said all that you needed to say, Councillor Cumbers. I welcome scrutiny's input all the time, and on this, I think it is so central because of the debate we've had as well. It's so central to have scrutiny's views. But I do remind all councillors, your views also can count. And considering how long this has been going through, to have questions literally at the live debate rather than when it's popped its head up, or when we've been to scrutiny, or when it's been approved at Cabinet, or even at Cabinet, I mean, there was at full council, the business rate grant funding, I think that was in the summer of this year, or early, it was one of the first Zoom calls we had at full council. No questions raised whatsoever. So Jacob Wilkinson, regeneration of the Cove and vibrancy for the town centre, absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head. This is more than just Phoenix House, and I want to remind members, those watching the public, this isn't about Phoenix House as one isolated site. This is about all our assets in the council, and to go through it in a logical step. And then if we do end up appreciating those value of those assets, then other projects can come on. And I'll talk about that with what Councillor Wood said later on. Councillor Brown, and he mentioned caveats and risks. Absolutely, big projects like this always come with risks. We obviously see with the county council, when as the Highways Authority, they're talking about their own risks, which they're trying to pass on to other unrelated parties. But my view on the options, and I'll keep talking to yourselves or any other councillors on there. And you were right, we can't assume this will be a housing site or a factory. This is what councillors are voting on tonight, to find out what can go on that site, what can generate the most amount of money. And that might not be, and if I remember correctly, Mr. Mayor, I think even with the Sainsbury's site, it wasn't the highest value that you got, but I think it was another supermarket who wanted just to land bank it, so you chose a different outcome. But we do need to have the strategic plan to invest. Councillor Pearson, who obviously holds the portfolio holder for housing and communities, so he recognises the investment in the Cove, and so since Leicestershire County Council pulled out of children's services from these centres, it has left a building which is certainly not utilised now, and that is something that this council has now built in partnership with LCC, and now we're going to have to do something with it. This is that potential opportunity, and I welcome Councillor Pearson working with you as members to see what can go into those assets within his portfolio and the housing revenue account. Councillor Evans talks about vulnerable people and the team that may be moving. We have vulnerable people who come into Parkside as well. And vulnerable people don't always have to go into our site. Is sometimes it's about how we get to them. And what I would recommend, Councillor Evans, certainly keep talking to Aisha. She will. I've been working a lot with her in regards to free school meals and how Aisha has advocated not necessarily to do a free school meal voucher, just giving people a one-off £15 voucher. It is also about white goods and all the other stuff that they do. But I know that Aisha's work, personally, and I've met people who are from there. So it's certainly not something I would just want to see gone. And I know the Mayor is a massive advocate for what they do. And from that team, if you speak to that team, what they're looking to do is rebrand, because they've really come into their own through this pandemic. And, the Here for Melton brand and what they're doing, they're looking to reinvigorate themselves. I think also with Council there's a lot of conspiracy theories coming through again. I don't think that's constructive and a live debate. Plenty of time to raise this way before now. And as I say, I'm happy to have any particular meetings on that. And it's not just the narrow view of Parkside. It is bigger strategic than that. Going on to Councillor Faulkner. Yes, a lot of these assets are in your ward, and I think Melton Borough Council in the Egerton ward, I think Councillor Orson and Councillor Graham will say this wholeheartedly. Melton Borough Council has put a significant investment in the Egerton ward, and I think what we have seen is Melton is traditionally, has low unemployment. We're very good at getting people into work, and not just getting them into work, which the Me and My Learning team do. It's sustainable work as well. So very happy to work with yourself and nearby ward councillors there. Elaine, who talks about Snow Hill, the council assets have all been assessed. So Snow Hill certainly is. I think, this is from memory now, I haven't got the notes in front of me. I think we've just filled 2 vacant units up there, which is good. And it's a good hub for people to start their businesses. You mentioned the lottery funding and the car firm. Well, this is what this paper is about. So this paper is to find out if the car firm can move. It might be that this part for Phoenix House, we decide not to do anything. And I'm very careful about that. Might be that it can be accommodated. In regards to lottery funding, obviously, and I don't know how well people know, is the Melton Learning Hub is independent of the Borough Council. They are in effect a tenant of the Borough Council. And any lottery funding in it, and I know working with Councillor Pearson and officers have been meeting in dialogue with Councillor Posnett in her role with the Melton Learning Hub. And I think from what I understand and seen emails, Sarah Cox has had some very positive dialogue working with our officers as well. There is no way we're just leaving them chucking them out the plane with no parachute at all. And I think it's only right and responsible to talk to them early that we're even thinking about this, rather than going through and saying, right, we're selling it, and out you go. And that's why that's important. Councillor Holmes says, where's everything going to be? And empty shops. Well, where's everything going to be? That's part of the paper. That's why we need to see where it's going to be. Empty shops. I mean, maybe if we sell the assets, we could probably buy some shops for some of the ideas you've put forward, but as we don't own them, we can't force that one. Simon, where is anyone else in the opposition's plan? Well, well, that's what I would be asking. I don't mind. People can vote for an idea or against an idea, but please put forward an alternative if you wish. And I think Councillor Pritchett said there was no forum. Well, you are the opposition. You are entitled to have the shadow part of meeting with officers and putting forward alternatives. And will we look at other councils on this and disposing of assets? I certainly would recommend officers do that. And in terms of the housing company, Councillor Lumley, I've been speaking with the Cornwall Council, who've got their own housing company. Northumberland County Council as well have been doing some really innovative things there. And I've got some connections there. And so, yes, we will be talking to people like that. Moving on, Councillor Steadman, I think we've touched on the agreement with Sainsbury's, if that's okay. And just to reiterate, this just is not about Parkside. It might be that this review, we don't touch Parkside, but the other significant assets, and remember the Cattle Market North site is the significant jewel in the crown in this particular piece of paper. Its value is inherently more valuable than the other sites put together. probably other ones that are in the HRA account, but excluding those. Councillor who passionately talks about the Melton Learning Hub, and I share those. I know some people who work there. We've got colleagues who are councillors who've had to leave because they're involved, and Councillor Binloss and his wife, they work there, and I know the good work that they do, especially on the food parcels that they did to support the community, and working with Aisha, they put that good arm around the community. Just on that is the Melton Learning Hub. It is children's services, and that's a responsibility of the County Council. And just to add on to that, even though it is not our responsibility as Melton Borough Council to provide children's services, what Melton Borough Council certainly is doing in supporting the Melton Learning Hub is the rent that we charge is significantly lower. The market rent, and I think about 30 to 35% from what officers are telling me. It's about £2 per square metre is the rent that they have. And so in effect, the council is certainly playing its part in supporting the Learning Hub being in that location. But I can categorically assure that Pranali, Andrew, the two directors and their teams will be working with the Learning Hub, and looking forward to positive conversations with Pam and Sarah Cox at the Learning Hub. It's just not something, I don't think, if I could collectively say 28 councillors are just willing just to dismiss something. And this council is really good at doing things that it's not statutory responsible for, and thinking outside the box, as the leader said, in regards to funding some things like with the bypass. It's not our statutory responsibility. We're there to help the county council, and we're here to help the Melton Learning Hub on children's services, which is not our statutory responsibilities as well. Tej, always value your opinion on a legal matter, so we'll probably bounce it off you in consultation, so thanks for that. I think I've dealt with any questions, but if I've missed any particular question, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy for a supplementary, but I think I've finished.
If people
Mr.
will
Mayor,
contact you after the meeting. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, it's Natasha speaking.
Yes.
Apologies for intervening, and also apologies, I've been experiencing some significant technical issues, which means I've been out of the meeting for about an hour and a half. I just wanted to draw your attention at this point to the fact that we are approaching our 3-hour time limit. I'm wondering if this is a good opportunity for you to have a proposal and seconder to extend the meeting beyond the 3 hours.
Shall we just, I think I can see Councillor Alston wanted to speak again, seconder. I think we can take this vote, and then we've got 10 minutes, haven't we?
8 minutes we've got currently.
Oh, all right, then let's have can we have a proposer and a seconder? We continue on for the next business after this.
I propose that,
If it had been a normal meeting, we'd have the smell of Councillor Holmes's mince pies driving us on, but it has been a long meeting. So, Councillor Alston, were you proposing that we...
Propose, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. To extend.
You seconding?
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor. And I have got one other point in regards to, very quickly, Mr. Mayor, what Councillor Brown said with those reassurances and bring back. Very happy to do that, as I have done all the way through on this paper for nearly 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I look for you. Do we need a roll call vote on this?
Mr. Mayor, subject to views of members, I'd be content to take the consent of the room to that motion. So assuming there were no objections to extending the meeting, we could proceed on that basis.
Are there any objections to extending the meeting?
No, Mr. Mayor, can I just say something?
Just due to medical reasons, I object.
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Right. Yes, Councillor Carter.
Yeah, I'll be leaving after this vote, Mr. Mayor, because I've got to be up for 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm driving,
Fine.
so I don't risk it. So I'll be leaving the meeting after this vote. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Well, have a very good Christmas, Councillor Carter.
Thank you. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
I believe that we have got one objection, but it's basically carried. And Councillor Smedley, by all means, leave us if you have to, and have a very happy Christmas. And I hope all goes well, and there'll be more of you. We'll have someone sound asleep like I've got here in a few years' time. Thank you. So that's been carried. So now, if we could proceed to the vote on this matter, which has taken a lot of discussion, I hand over.
Mr. Mayor, I believe you were going to come to Councillor Orson next.
Oh gosh, was I? Yes.
Yeah,
Councillor Orson.
A few comments as the seconder, Mr. Mayor. I won't take up too much time because obviously I have to say Councillor Higgins has done a wonderful job on this. It's been so thorough, as you well know. He's gone through all your questions and answers and everything else, and I really genuinely applaud him on all the work and effort he's put into this. I also applaud the officers for supplying lots of the information at quite a late time. It's been a great debate, there's no doubt about that. Like I say, I think the Sainsbury's thing is a real red herring by my memory, and I'm sure the legal bods will soon be able to sort that out when the time comes. It has been mentioned it's not a good time to sell property. By the time this is all taken through, it will be in a different time. But actually, at this moment, I take the opposite view. I think property is incredibly high. I have to say, I'm not quite sure why, but that's where it is. That's what all the agents are saying too. Like I say, it is a good time. And one comment I really did like was Councillor Faulkner. I just loved it. And he just reminded us all that Edgerton is the powerhouse of Melton Mowbray. It really is, isn't it? It's got Pira, it's got Sainsbury's, it's got the cattle market, it's got the Cove. It just seems to have everything going for it. And Mr. Mayor, you will always remember yourself in many years ago, you always often used to say how much money had been invested into Edgerton Ward, and we're seeing the results of that now. It's taken a long while, but it's there. And so well done to you, Mr. Mayor, for leading the council into that time. And Councillor Faulkner, just thank you for reminding us it's the powerhouse of Melton, Edgerton Ward. Formally second.
Thank you very much. But thank you very much. Now I'll now hand over to the Chief Executive for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll proceed as before with members indicating for, against or abstaining, please. Councillor Baines, I understand, is absent from the meeting. Councillor Bindloss has withdrawn. Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Against.
Councillor Chandler. Councillor Chandler. I'll come back to you in a moment, Councillor Chandler. Councillor Child.
For.
Councillor Cumbers.
For.
Councillor de Burgh.
For.
Councillor Douglas.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Faulkner.
For.
Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Freer-Jones.
For.
Councillor Glancy.
For.
Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Hewson.
Against.
Councillor Higgins.
For. Need some water as well.
Councillor Holmes. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, against.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Illingworth.
For.
Councillor Lumley.
For.
Councillor Olsen.
For.
Councillor Pearson.
For.
Councillor Posnett has withdrawn. Councillor Pritchett.
Against.
Councillor Smedley.
For.
Councillor Steadman.
Abstain.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
And Councillor Wood.
Abstain.
And Councillor Chandler, back to you.
This is no way to do a meeting. I've not only been in for about 10 minutes again. It's hopeless.
Okay,
I can't vote when I've not heard the full debate.
Okay, I shall mark you as abstaining. Just bear with me one moment, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, I have 17 for, 5 against, and 3 abstentions.
Thank you very much. So the motion has been carried, 17 for, 5 against, and 3 abstentions.
Mr. Mayor, before you go any further, I've had a text from one member asking if we could take a pit stop, as I call it. I'll leave that to your discretion.
I hope the next item won't take too long.
No, let's move on.
Mr. Mayor. Cheerio. Merry Christmas to all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye-bye.
The last item of business, we won't include the public unless reference is made to the yellow page at the end of our papers. So the Cabinet report to the Council Melton Sports Village Tennis Facilities Improvement. Councillor Pearson will move.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that to consider the recommendation of the Cabinet subject to being referred to.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it occurs to me that we have 2 members still outside of the room who we need to bring back into
okay.
debate. Apologies, Mr. Mayor. Just bear with us while Democratic Services bring those members back in.
Sorry, I should have learnt by now. I don't have a very interested party beside me.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fascinating debate, but he didn't.
I believe, Mr. Mayor, those members have rejoined the meeting.
There are some magical moments.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll move on. It's been a long night, and we're all getting tired and not real. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. To consider the recommendations, the Cabinet, I'll fill the bones in a minute, subject to being referred to by the Council 16th of December in relation to the Sports Village. The recommendations are, as you can see on your paper, 2.1, approve the addition of 113,000 to the 221 capital programme in relation to the improvements of the tennis courts, approve the 9,400 be provided from capital receipts support the remaining costs of delivering the project. A report went to the Cabinet September 2019, which advised the need of investment in the site due to the deterioration of the playing surface. Actions were authorised by the Cabinet in terms of clarifying the funding arrangements of the investment required and assurances around the financial sustainability of the tennis provision of this council-owned asset. Working closely with Melton Mowbray Tennis Club, who have been proven to be a really decent group of people and very passionate, the council sports team has secured grant funding of just under 39,000 and has clarified this investment that the tennis club will be able to make, including significant fundraising. This has reduced the level of investment needed by the council from an estimated 40,000 into the facility to 9,400. As part of the overall investment of 113,000, now there's project costs there, management costs. Working in partnership with the council officers, the Lawn Tennis Association and the tennis club has provided a maintenance plan covering the use of the sinking funds, both for the court replacement and in future and other ongoing yearly maintenance. The contractual arrangements of the council-owned site will be rationalised and the council entering a 24-year lease with the Melton Mowbray Tennis Club to include a course of usual rent reviews and break clauses to protect both parties. Adding the project to this year's capital programme will allow for the works to finish on time for the start of the new tennis season in 2001. So approve the addition of the 113,000 I've said to the capital programme of 2021 for relation improvements, remembering a lot of this funding is from the lawn tennis, from other money being raised. Our contribution of 9,400 be provided from capital receipts to support the remaining costs of delivering the project. That's the report, thank you, and I look forward for a seconder.
Councillor Olsen, you happy to second?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to second agenda item 14, recommendations 2122, and withhold my comments to speak later. Thank you very much.
Councillor Holmes, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Evans has had to go to the vet because his dog's poorly. So he's just saying that. Is it time for debate in this or not? Could I say something now? Yeah. Right. I worried when when Councillor Pearson said that they were going to do a 24-year something or other. I know we are stuck with the rugby club because that has got a really long lease. I worry that this facility is a different it's an offshoot of the very extremely good one in Melton already, and I worry that actually we're spending a lot of money, and do we need it? Do we need this facility as much as the Hamilton Tennis Club, which has been going for years and years? That's all. And my thoughts, I don't know. I would like to hear the rest of the debate.
Yeah, can I respond to that? Yeah, that's okay. Can I respond, Mayor, please?
Yes, do, Councillor.
No, no, I understand your concerns. The issue is this is a very successful club. In fact, the turnover, the numbers are astronomical. They're working more with youth. The club you mentioned before was more adult, so this is actually focusing on the younger people. The work they've done there already, the improvements they've implemented. The rugby club, I coach the rugby club. We've got to forget that sometimes they provide a service. These are getting hundreds of people turning up. So it's a physical activity. It's helping children. It's keeping them off the streets. The rugby club do the same, Elaine, irrespective of, I have to remember, right, they pulled quite a lot of funding in from the rugby union to help the facility. And, you go up there on a Sunday morning, there's 300 or 400 kids have been coached. So
I'm not saying anything bad about the rugby club, but it was just that the lease thing,
Yeah.
that was all I was saying.
Yeah, I think the lease balances out. I mean, the truth, when we negotiated, we tried to work win-win. We tried to make it sort of comfortable for them to manage, and I hope they are there for 24 years because they were spending there's a fair bit of money spent on the services, on the facility itself, and for us, it's a facility there that it's going to cost us very little. We've reduced it from potentially 40-odd thousand down to 9 and a bit with grants and funding and their income. So, I just feel it's if we don't do this, what have we got there? We've just got facility that's not going to be used, that's going to deteriorate and not provide services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
Yeah, just a quick one because I have run out of water now. On a personal level, and no, I'm a cabinet member, but on a personal level, and I'd like to thank the original working group who were on the sports working group for King Edward. And I know when this tennis club first came to us with the idea of using it, we had no idea what it was going to be used for. It's so obsolete, it's dangerous actually. And when I went there with Keith Aubrey, and I said this yesterday at Cabinet for those who didn't watch it, and I know Kelly is still watching as well, and for the amount of young people that they have, it's over 200 young people, and some that they then send to Florida as well. And I sat down with a few of them. I said, you have to see me as a bank manager. I just can't throw this money there. Come up with a business plan. And boy, have they done that. And instead of asking us for the amount of money that they originally did, it's now a very small amount. And they're going to then pay a rent. And I do get the point that Councillor Holmes was raising. And I believe in the paper, there are those caveats for various break clauses, or if the council wanted to do something else, that's obviously going to be written into the contract. But just on this, and my thanks to those at Melton Mowbray Tennis Club, it's been fabulous working with them for the number of years on this. And this is exactly what local councils do and do really well. And this is absolutely one of those papers that everyone should support.
Councillor Pritchard.
Sorry, mate. Can I just say thank you to Lee, because it's been a bit of a pass out with this, hasn't it, Lee? It's come to me, you had it, and I was slightly involved. And now it's sort of, but they've been a pleasure to work with, and I must confess, you've hit the nail on the head. And the passion is wonderful.
Yeah, Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you very much, Mayor Leader. Yes, 253 members is quite high. I don't know whether that includes the youth. In addition, just the comments, my usual comment: the 9,400 from the town, from the council. It wouldn't do any harm if £3 grand came from the precept. I think one of the key things with this sort of thing is the monitoring in the next 2 or 3 years, that you keep an eye on the club, the accounts, that it's still popular, that they're putting the money away, etc., etc. And I'm sure one of the things the tennis association would want, and the council that needs writing in, that there is access to the young people, and particularly anyone from underprivileged background, that they don't have to pay a high fee for some sort of taster sessions. The financial obligations are quite considerable, and again with the lease 24 years, which is a good attempt. I do think there needs to be a break clause just in case for either party. If the council comes up with a mega scheme, I wouldn't want it to be held back by a too lengthy lease. I don't think there's any need in the papers for income generation opportunities from such a small scheme. We've got the lottery and Lifeline, which I'm told don't break even. So I don't think we need to potter about trying to get income from a coffee shop or anything on this one. No. Yes, there are just few comments about it. I mean, I don't know whether the yellow piece of paper is meant to help or confuse me, the way it's been set out.
If you, Mr. Pritchett, can I tell you, if you start discussing the yellow paper, we have to go into private session.
I've finished, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. To respond to Don. Don's quite right. There is a break clause, which is important. It's common sense, and with the due diligence, it's been done. Just to say as well, we talk quite a bit about antisocial behaviour. It's these sort of programmes that keep the children. And would you believe the membership is very reasonable? I think it's very cheap for the children. So it is available for I mean, there's 200 turn up, and they're from all form walks of life. But I agree, we will keep an eye on it. And but I think it's a super programme. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just if I may come in and clarify points that have been made about the lease, the long-term lease. I was on the original Melton Sports Village committee or subcommittee, whatever it was, from the CSNA, and we had requests from the rugby club, and they wanted funding from the RFU, and to get that they had to have a 25-year lease. And I think the same will happen with the tennis club, because I know I've been associated with Bottisford Football Club, as you know, which has now got 15 pitches and is the biggest football club in Leicestershire, I understand now. It's got 100 members, kids from 5 to men playing this walking football. And I had to sign various papers on their behalf for them to get a lease. They had to have a 25-year lease to get money from the Football Foundation. So I know these long-term leases are the only way you can get actual funding from the parent bodies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chandler. Councillor Glancy.
Excuse me, I was just trying to move my mouse to unmute myself. Yeah, I noticed in the papers that it's £30,000 loan from the LTA. Who's going to underwrite that loan, and what happens if the Melton Mowbray Tennis Club defaults on the loan? Because the LTA will want their pound of flesh. So that is one thing. And another one, we do need to sort of keep our eye on the income to make sure it does match with the projections, because everything is tied into those projections. Now, I'm not going to mention any amounts now, but it is very important that those projections are maintained. And regarding the junior tennis up at the Melton Mowbray Tennis Club, the LTA provide funding for junior tennis. So whilst the LTA provide that funding, that junior tennis will continue. It's part of their initiative to bring on young players. So if you could answer that one regarding the loan, because that's my only worry.
We're not under, to be truthful, I'm not sure about this, but I don't think we're underwriting the loan because they're a private group. Lee, do you remember this?
Yes, as I understand it, it says in the papers the loan will be attributed, Councillor Glancy, to the tennis club themselves, so their trustees, or as that's as I understand it, and that's how it's done in the paper.
But so can I just come back? Sorry.
Yeah.
So what will happen if they do default? How will the council stand?
That's their problem. That's not. I don't think we're not responsible for it. I don't think
okay.
If I remember rightly, we're not responsible for paying that back. They're responsible. Is that correct?
Yeah, as I understand the loan,
it's a private organisation.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
So if it, as with a company or organisation, and I know some people are trustees on that, then they will be personally liable to get that back from the LTA. But obviously the Director for Governance and Legal Services is on here. If she wants to come in, Alan, I don't know.
Yeah,
my understanding, if I may, through you, Mayor. Yep. My understanding is that the council is not underwriting the £30,000 loan in this situation, so they would be liable for that.
Thank you. The other thing, Margaret, is also in the end, the asset's still ours. We're not losing an asset in the future. Whatever happens, the asset belongs to us.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just keep it quickly. Great to see a decent project coming to fruition up at the Melton Sports Village, but more importantly, the fact that there's going to be opportunities given to hundreds of kids in the future to actually participate in a sport, and very well done to the actual club themselves for the hard work, the drive, the enthusiasm to actually make this all happen. And I remember just before I got elected, being invited up there to look at the plans, etc. And in all fairness, it's something that previous director Keith Aubrey should be given a lot of credit for. He had a vision. He brought something that was going to cost the council money, and has turned around to not costing us a lot, etc. And just to finish off, is I wouldn't be too concerned about the liabilities on it. Like, I'm involved in a cricket club and we've borrowed money, etc. from the ECB. They sort of underwrite that, and it's a bit like a bank loan. The bank expects so many to pay it off and so many to go under, etc. And that's usually the risk that the governing bodies take. So it's a great story for Melton, and hopefully it's the start of good things and maybe more positive things out of the pandemic to come for us here in Melton Mowbray.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I fully support this recommendation. Melton Mowbray Tennis Club provide an amazing service for the kids. They've been fundraising themselves to provide a new clubhouse, which is really good. My two children both go there, and every time I drop the children off for their different tennis sessions on a weekend, it's always really well attended. The coaches are brilliant there. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. I've got no other hands up. Councillor Pearson, did you want to say anything more?
No, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, no. Again, support everything that's been said. We do have to always have caution, because you never know. We always keep an eye on things, but I'm very confident that this program will go from strength to strength. And again, we're getting something very cheap, but the asset will be ours. But that doesn't matter really. It's a program, hundreds of kids from all walks of life, and we're part of it. And I think that's our role. So I hope I get everybody's support. Thank you.
Councillor Alston, I see your hands appeared.
Yeah, it's just to formally second, just say a few words for these, but I'll keep it very, very short because so much has already been said on this. But it's appropriate to thank Alan and Lee on this, because Lee, as Alan acknowledged earlier, he did lead on this early on. Been a tremendous piece of work. It's a win-win. I think Alan actually said that himself as well. It really is a win-win situation. Chris, in his comments right at the death, effectively saying what a wonderful facility it is, how much the kids enjoy it. Absolutely smack on there. It's a good thing. But also time just to note, actually, former officer had a lot to do this with very much in the early days when it was difficult and he had to steer his way through it. And that's Keith Aubrey. So if he could just be noted in the minutes that thanks to Keith for his steer in those early days. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I've got nobody else indicating to speak. So I'll go to the Chief Executive for vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members. For the final time this evening, if I can ask you to indicate for, against or abstain, please. Councillor Baines, I understand, is absent. Councillor Bindloss.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Carter is absent. Councillor Chandler.
4.
Councillor Child.
4.
Councillor Cumbers.
4.
Councillor de Boer.
4.
Councillor Douglas.
4.
Councillor Evans is absent. Councillor Faulkner.
4.
Councillor Fisher.
4.
Councillor Freer Jones.
4.
Councillor Glancy.
4.
Councillor Graham.
4.
Councillor Hewson.
4.
Councillor Higgins.
4.
Councillor Holmes.
4.
Councillor Illingworth. Councillor Illingworth.
4. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Lumley.
4.
Councillor Orson.
4.
Councillor Pearson.
4.
Councillor Posnett. Councillor Posnett.
I did say 4.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Pritchett.
4.
Councillor Smedley.
4.
Councillor Stedman.
4.
Councillor Wilkinson.
4.
And Councillor Wood.
4.
Mr. Mayor, that is 25-4.
Well, councillors, thank you very much. That's been carried by 25 votes. And it's been a long evening, but I hope you all have a very, very happy Christmas and a good break. And let's hope that 2021 is a great deal kinder to us than 2020 has been. So thank you all very much and good night.
Good night.
Happy